through for a win on Dylan's side of the ledger.
So small. What's going on, YouTube world? Steve, Michael, Robert, and at some point Vincenzo. IRP, I don't even know. I didn't see the number. What, 213? Somewhere in there. I fucking don't know. It's been a long everything. Everything just gets longer and longer. That's what she said. But
213 is right, so you're good.
It's never ending. That's all. Adulting is just a nightmare. So
I'll trade you.
It wouldn't matter. Why not?
I just thought I'd throw it out there.
I know.
It could always be worse. That's what I always have to tell myself. It could always be worse.
I know this. I'm very much aware, but at the same time, it's like, you know what?
It doesn't help the situation at hand. I get it, but
you see the
at some point, I would like to feel that it can't get better. It'd be nice to be in that position for once.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Like you buy a storage lot and there's like a fucking Studebaker and certificates for all these new cars from this other lot and cases of 52 tops, 86, 87 Fleer, stuff like that. And it's just like, okay. And then there's all these certificates for old war bonds or something that's worth a ton of money and silver coins and fucking Indian head pennies that from 1880 or something. Again, just something where you're a treasure trove of good news instead of hey, you found a quarter. That's the highlight of your day. Be
man. A pallet of 5-pound box of $100 bills.
Yeah, something just worth.
So you're more on a 91 Fleer baseball run right now.
That would even be I don't know. It again, like Steve said, it's not as bad as I make it out to be or whatever we make it out to be. It just would be nice to not have things just
it's not that. It's not that. It's stuff sucks. Shit sucks. Some of us know what's going on, with you, Dave. People know what's going on with me. Some people know what's going on with Bob. Michael, I think, is the only one that's at least more on a positive trajectory as of late.
He's on more in the arrow of invest.
The rest of us are either right here or slowly.
I feel like this.
Well, yes, that.
But that's a feeling. That's a feeling.
Yeah.
On one positive note, I guess if we want to call it a positive note, the kiddo turned 18 yesterday.
Happy birthday. Wow. Happy birthday.
So, what's up, Baz? Joe, Paul.
You know what happened to me yesterday?
You went to work and you came home.
Close. Mondays I go to mom's for dinner, then I come home.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
No, the card I bought a week ago got sent to eBay authentication yesterday.
That's a little late.
Yeah, it's fucking irritating.
Dave's obviously got a new
he's got a
new
thing.
He's got a new one. Oh Jesus.
Wow.
It's a fucking bat.
With nipples.
Hold on.
It's Man Bat, the Batman Bat plushie. 882 of these were made. So at least 881 other oddballs are out there. So it's not just me.
Keep that close. for good reason. So like my kid loves bats.
I
And
think
I'm sure they'll
for-
get a kick out of it.
I bet you at least 860 of the recipients of that resemble that.
It's a possibility.
Well done, Dave.
Yeah.
Keep it close.
That
God damn, that stupid screen is just pissing me the fuck off.
that might be
Breathe.
the best one.
Breathe.
Think of your screen. You see the 4 people.
Mhm.
It's half of that for everybody, and then it's half of the screen. So
The nice thing about it is you technically don't have to see any of us.
yeah, but at least
Technically.
doing like this, and see for whatever reason, I have to go off center.
Oh,
So I'm like over here, and I go do this, and then nope, I'm
We
What
can
do you
still
think?
see it the other way, just not the full picture.
so yeah, it's
I don't know why that would be doing that though. That seems a little odd.
I'm sure this phone can be used with a Babe Ruth baseball bat pretty quick because it's got to be at pushing itself like 6 years old. So
If anybody like what I'm drinking this evening, I ought to tell you how it's been for me the last few days. So it's a maker's kind of evening.
better than Epsom salt.
Do what?
It's better than Epsom salt.
Well, I don't need to clear myself out, nor want to end up in the hospital or anything.
Oh,
Not sore, so like there would be no purpose of that because like the only good thing about Epsom salt is to throw it in a bath and soak.
I don't fit in baths.
Yes, you are extremely tall.
yeah, taller than,
Sasquatch.
taller than the normal human.
That's right.
Yep.
If nothing else, that was the one takeaway from National.
2019, baby. I'm still tall.
No, 23, Bob. Talking about 23.
Well, it was first discovered that I was really tall.
I didn't discover till it was mentioned on this podcast one night.
One day, our paths will converse or connect, cross, and you'll discover it yourself. I'm sure you'll journal about it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll make a YouTube video of Bob's height.
Right.
Just
Graphs and
Yeah.
charts and
Stuff like this.
yeah, ups and downs and pie graphs and
well, he can do his master's thesis on Bob's height.
He's tall, period.
yeah.
Right?
Finn.
Tall and thin.
No, Finn. The whatever
Thin?
in Europe. Fin, Finnish.
Oh, thin. Okay.
So, can we not see his whole question there? Because after at work and then I can't see after that.
It says at work today about the Vikings' performance last night.
2 days, so I'm getting a little cut off.
And see, for me, I'd see Dave. What was the conversation? ARO performance
Oh, wow.
last night.
Ooh.
So basically, water cooler talk.
People were grumbly. I wore the Rams sweatshirt with Stafford on the back, so
Fantastic.
salt in the wound. People are just like,
Only that Dave can do.
people are just pissy. And I'm like, my Chargers lost by fucking 20. It looked like Ryan Leaf was their quarterback. So again, I don't care though.
It couldn't have been Ryan Leaf. He was playing for us.
No, you had the Magic Man. He was out there. Mikowski with, or God, who else? There's somebody else. Anthony Dillwig. That would have been another one. One of those two were.
That's a name I've never heard before.
Dillwig.
He played 91, 90 or 91, because that's some of those old Sunday night football games. I think there's a Vikings Packers one on there, and I think he's starting, and I'm just like, oh God. I remember the name because it was
because it's Dillwig.
Sort of like a Case Keenum type one where it's like, other than the Minneapolis Miracle, it's like you didn't want to see him in there. It was like, oh no, this is gonna turn sour quickly.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, it's a body, but that's basically about the extent of it. So, I just told people, I said, yeah, Chargers lost 32-12, and they should have probably lost a lot worse. I mean, I don't know if Herbert went colorblind or what, but.
So we went 0 for 4 on the screen right here with our teams. I just realized.
Yeah.
Yes. And once Vinny shows up, technically it'll be 0 for 5.
Yeah.
Even though you and him are the same team, it's still 0 for 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Not too many people are happy, and I just said, I don't know why.
I mean, I was happy watching Minnesota lose. And I didn't watch any of the game. I just saw the score.
I watched, I think the Rams are up 10-0, it's 10-3, and then I turned it on, and that's, I think, when Stafford had that questionable, like, again, it was an incomplete pass if you go by the definition. People, I mean, I don't know how many people I heard. It was an intentional grounding. I said, Nakua was coming across. He was right there. Again, that's where he was going for in the grand scheme of things. Now, I get where 100% he probably was just trying to throw the ball away. I know that. But if you go by the letter of the law, that's not intentional grounding if he was like 2 yards, if that, away from the ball.
Yep. If there's an eligible receiver within distance, they're not going to call it.
And again, I said I'd say that if it's the Vikings doing that too. I don't care. That's what the rule is set up to be, and people are, well, they got to change that rule. I'm like,
but then it's left open for interpretation.
Yeah,
like
you don't have a concrete. This is what it's going to be. If in any circumstance in this swath, that's what it is. But you can't. So
yeah, within 1 step, within 2 steps, like how do you define that?
Yeah, I just was like, I'm not a rule maker. I don't work for the NFL. You can sit there and complain to me all you want. That was a turning point in the game, correct? But Darnold looks like dog shit out there. Little dog shit. He can't fucking hit the broadside of a barn. The Hawkinson touchdown was a miracle because Hawkinson had to turn the upper part of his body to catch the ball against his like upper thigh hip area. It wasn't like a well-placed ball where he was running in motion and boom, caught it like a traditional catch and then ran. He got lucky because the Rams defender just missed the ball too. So, I mean, it's not like, oh my God, Darnold just missed the pass here, missed one. He fucking missed everything. And then the one he hit to, I think Addison, it was like a long one, and then he dropped that one. Again, end of the game scenario, but still, when you can't fucking hit your receivers, and that's 2 weeks in a row, you're off by a lot, and you're holding the ball like you're Randall Cunningham in his prime playing flag football. I mean, you're just dancing in the backfield. I don't know what you think's going to happen. I mean, 1,000, 2,000. I better start looking quick. 3,000. I got to get rid of it now. 4,000. I'm going to turn around. 5,000. Oh, there's somebody there. What? You're holding it for 6 seconds.
That's why they had 6 sacks in the first half.
And you could tell, like, when Aikman's getting frustrated in that broadcast, he's just like, he's got to get rid of the ball. I don't know what he's doing. I'm like, well, you're not alone, Jared.
People were
either.
bitching about his bias and poking at Darnold. Well, guess what, folks? Aikman played quarterback in the NFL. He knows what it was like to hold the ball for 5 and 6 seconds. Hence the reason why his career didn't last as long as what it could have.
Yeah.
He had a statement on the coaching vacancy in Dallas where it's like, yeah, it's a premier job, but like he doesn't know many coaches that want, like, just having, history being what it is, like that, going in there and not really having the control that most head coaches desire,
No, when you have like the GM and player personnel type, I get the final say, or at least I'm going to be neck and neck with the owner and GM, and we're going to have, what is it, like it used to be in Minnesota with like Brad Childress and Rick Spielman and someone else was like the triangle of whatever, and it's like it doesn't work. The coach that has the player personnel say rarely works. Just because then it's, well, then who's to blame? Well, it's not the GM if the coach is bringing the people in, but then the GM gets shit canned or whatever. And so,
well, and until Jerry relinquishes some authority, Dallas is going to be shit.
I think that's what he was kind of getting at.
Oh yeah,
without saying it.
Because again, you go back, Jimmy was the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Like he.
Yeah, and Jerry resents that.
Oh, yep. Without a doubt, which is why Jimmy ended up not being the coach for fucking 40 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jerry could not stand that Jimmy was getting the praise.
Yep. But that was the last time, like, pretty much Jerry didn't have the say-so in everything that transpired. Jimmy was like, no, I'm the coach. This is what I need. This is who I want. And that's what happened. They won 2 championships because of it.
Yes.
And then you get rid of Jimmy, you bring in Switzer. Yeah, Switzer wins the championship for you, but that was Jimmy's team.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the definition of winning with somebody else's players.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And then
100%.
Gruden did it. Gruden did it with Tampa. That was all Dungy.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. But it just... Speaking from, like, on my side of the fence, I don't feel Denver played bad, but they were way outmatched.
Mm-hmm.
Like, their defense was not playing to the caliber that Denver defense had been playing almost all year. Bo Nix looked like a rookie. It's not that he was, like, indecisive or anything, like, I seriously, like, the weight of the game got to him because, like, he looked like a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he didn't play bad, but he didn't play up to his caliber either. But, again, I was mentioning it in pre-show, like, if the game would have been a lot closer, I would have been pleasantly surprised. Was I expecting that much of an ass kicking? No. I mean, losing by 24 points. But then again, like, Buffalo kept the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
Like, they were still launching the fucking ball with the fucking, 24-point lead.
Hell yes.
Which, like, I get it, like, to each their own. But that's one of those kind of unwritten rules kind of in the NFL. Like once you're pretty much you've got the game won, why are you still slinging the ball 40 yards downfield?
They want to win a Super Bowl.
But they already won the game. Like what purpose does it serve?
I like it. I know it's
Maybe.
against your squad. But I like it.
There's a really strong possibility that there's people on the other side that think Sean Payton's a dick because Sean Payton is a dick.
I'm not saying that he isn't.
But that's why.
I am not saying that he isn't. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, I love my coach, because I don't. I like his mind, but he's a prick. But again, I'm not opposed to the thought process and what transpired. It's still one of those in which it's kind of like the unwritten rule. And usually that doesn't fare well in the long run if that's the type of shit that you're going to do.
Right. But they knew they weren't going to have to play him again this year.
Agreed. I mean, I like Josh Allen. Like, I think he's a fucking stud. And I'd said it earlier. Like, whoever comes out of Buffalo, Baltimore, I really think that's going to be your AFC champion. It's not going to be Kansas City. Because Buffalo looked fantastic. Fucking Baltimore looked phenomenal. Like, I just don't see. Yeah, granted, it'll be in Kansas City, but I don't think that's going to matter. It's going to be a battle of the freaking MVPs in the next round with Buffalo and Baltimore. Just my opinion.
And how rare is it to see in this day and age where a quarterback and that next best player isn't like some stud receiver. It's the running back. You got Cook and you got Henry. You got two fucking old school backs.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm jazzed about that, because I want to see Derrick Henry get a title. That dude, I like him a lot.
Yep.
It's just the way he plays. He reminds me of a lot better Eddie George. Just like the again, not to go back to height, but Derrick Henry's like a 6'1", 6'2" dude. Eddie George had that. There's always that stride where when he got going, it was a different looking stride, and when Henry gets going, it's like a locomotive.
Yeah.
It's just you want to get in the way. Hey, I hope you have a good life insurance policy, and that's about the extent of it. Because that first game against Buffalo, I think it was Sunday Night Football, and he had that 80, 90-yard run, and I had watched that, and I'm like, oh, man, that's.
Yeah, somebody that big shouldn't be able to move that fast.
He's pulling away from people, and I'm like, well, then.
He's a freak of nature, to say the least.
Yeah.
And that was what I had thought Baltimore had needed. And it's not just like my take on that. I mean, I think everybody, you get a good running back there, and that's all Lamar Jackson needed to like elevate his game.
Yep.
Well,
again, you still need a good receiver, but I mean, you've got components, and that defense is starting to figure some things out. It's not going to remind anybody of that early 2000s Baltimore defense, but you're starting to come around a little bit more instead of being that sieve that you were.
Well, they got back is he a linebacker or defensive end? Ogbu Mikey.
Yeah, the D end.
Yeah. I mean, he came back with like 3 games left in the season, maybe. And ever since he's come back, he has been a monster.
Well, and speaking of Derek, Jerry Jones is kicking himself in the ass.
Yeah.
Because he, same amount of money.
Yep.
Yeah. Made no
And
sense.
and okay, let's go back and get Zeke back, who's had fucking decline for the last however many seasons. Like,
Since
why-
his rookie season.
why
Yeah.
would you waste your fucking money, man?
Yeah, it made no sense. There were great running backs out there on the market, and you decided to just we'll go with the retread.
Yeah,
Hey,
we
Dave.
saw nothing in New England that would.
Pull out the bat.
That.
Hold on. But wait.
I'm still looking.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes. You saw nothing in New England that would have said, "Oh man, we need to get Zeke back in the fold."
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. If you like 12 carries for 23 yards, man, your Thanksgiving is going to be a great one. But again, I've said it before on here, and I've fucked up the saying again. It's like Jerry Jones will cut off his nose to spite him, whatever he'll do that because he just. It's a Vince McMahon type of person. They're in the same bloodline where it's, I'm going to prove that I'm the alpha. Well, you're not. You're old, stupid. You got a lot of money. Again, you've done some good things along the way, but man, you fuck up a steel ball. I mean, there's this shit you need to just go pull over at a rest stop and stay there the rest of your days.
Yeah.
Because again, you want to be the alpha, and you're a beta. So,
Yeah.
and that's where the cowgirls will always be. They're
Clearly, your way of doing things has not worked for
multiple
3
times
decades.
Yeah.
3 decades now.
But yet he doesn't want to listen to anybody. That's the problem. He still thinks he still thinks he's a football mind.
Yeah.
And refuses to relinquish control to allow them to get back to even half of what they used to be. The fact that team still is like the number one grossing franchise, even after sucking for the last 30 years, is that all he thinks about? Is like, oh, well, if we have winning seasons, we make the postseason. We have winning seasons, we don't make the postseason. We have losing seasons, but yet they're still freaking banking money. Like, is that all it is to him?
It typically is amongst people that wealthy.
And doesn't he have like a son that's somewhere in the upper ranks of the?
He's supposed to be the GM.
Yeah.
Stephen Jones is supposed to be the GM.
Yep. And we definitely know he has no say in anything.
No, without a doubt. None.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know if he has qualifications, if he has a football mind, because you never really hear anything from him.
No.
And typically, like in the football world, you hear, you may hear from the owner every once in a while, but it's usually the GM and the coach. That's who you typically hear from when it comes to games and outcomes or pre-games or whatever. Most of the time, it's not the fucking owner.
No.
Who immediately after games goes on the radio and talks.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
amazing.
All the time.
Yeah.
And then he expects people to be like, oh man, it just wasn't our day today. It's like, no, you're an idiot, and every move you've made has been a fucking blundering, numbskull, dipshit move. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why don't you cede control? Because you're just stupid. You're like the Gargamel of the fucking football world.
They've had some decent draft picks over the last few years. They really have. Have they lasted an extended period of time? Unfortunately, not. Like Leighton Vander Esch, like that kid was a fucking stud.
Injuries just got him.
Same thing with Sean Lee. Sean Lee was even a later round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. And that kid was a fucking badass.
I loved him.
But again,
I hated being a fan of him. He's a cowboy.
Injuries, like
Yep.
same thing. But you look at like Micah Parsons, who again, like I'm a fan of the game. I'm not a fan of like other teams other than my own. Micah Parsons, I think, is even more underrated than what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And you put him anywhere else in the league on another team with a decent defense, he would be 100% upper echelon.
Mm-hmm.
When he's on the field in Dallas, he's a menace. He's a menace. You have to watch out for him. The kid's a stud. But the problem is there's nobody else worth a damn.
No. And that was the thing with Trayvon Diggs. Everybody's like, oh, man, you have 8, 9 interceptions. You've also given up 8, 9 50-yard bombs. I mean, that New England game, they were up in New England. I still remember it because I don't know if I had CD Lamb in that game for fantasy. And it's like somebody, boom, 60-yard touchdown. Okay, then CD Lamb has like a 72-yard. Next play, 80-yard touchdown for New England. I'm like, and it's both on Diggs. And Diggs has like a pick 6, but then Dallas does nothing. New England, boom, they have another like 48, 50-yard. I'm like, and this is your all-pro, all-world. I'm like, Darrell Green didn't fucking do that.
Yeah.
Woodson didn't do that.
And look, the interception stopped, and you stopped hearing his name because he was terrible.
You had one good year, and that one good year wasn't even a good year. You just had a lot of numbers because people kept fucking throwing at him.
Right.
Yep. But
This wasn't like Deion in his prime. Deion, when he was early 90s, you weren't throwing at him.
Yeah.
Darrell Revis, you weren't throwing at him.
Champ Bailey.
Yeah, it wasn't like you're throwing 40 times a game and 20 are at him. It's like you're throwing 40 times a game and you're throwing 1 at him and 2 in his adjacency.
Yeah. And it was the same thing with Richard Sherman those first couple of years.
Yep.
That Legion of Boom. You're not going to have the takeaways because there are no targets coming at the guy you're covering.
No.
But true definition of a shutdown corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like PS2 still has a ton of upside. And like he even fucking tanked against Buffalo. He didn't have near the game that he was capable of. Yeah. And, like I'm a huge fan of that kid. I think he's going to be a shutdown corner. He's damn close. But again, like he didn't do his part. So go ahead.
I think you're going to see Jair in Minnesota or Detroit next year.
Alexander?
Yep.
Wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota, well, either one really, because
and maybe even Chicago. He's going to go to somebody else in the division. That's
he's
just
gonna be one of those.
That's how that stuff goes. There's obviously, I mean, Packers fans, we've been talking about it for half the season or more. Like there's something going on once again between staff and a player. And what was going on, we think, was the medical staff wanted to do one thing, Jair wanted to do another, and they couldn't get on the right page. And then I think there was a point where Jair's practicing every day during the week, full participant or, partial participant.
Mm.
But then he was always out come game time, where the medical staff, I think, was saying he's cleared to play. And he's saying, I'm still hurt for whatever reason. And then right there, the last couple of weeks of the season, decides to have season-ending knee surgery that had you done it 6 weeks ago when you were initially hurt, you could have been playing right now. And then I guess yesterday when they were the team was cleaning out the locker rooms and everything, and the reporters talked to him, and he goes, he said, I got nothing good to say. And that was just it.
I'm sure, yeah, he's after probably halfway through the year, he's like, I'm just going to look out for myself. I'm going to be a free agent. I'm doing the best for me. I mean,
Well, he's not a free agent. That's just it.
Okay.
He just signed a big contract the beginning of the 23 season.
I hope it doesn't start going the way of the NBA.
It feels like it is.
And I hate that because it's just, you're signing for more money than any of us will ever fucking even dream to have to play football, basketball, to be basically a glorified entertainment. Again, yeah, you're great athletes. But does Jimmy Butler deserve 45, 50 million a year for what Jimmy Butler brings to the table? Jair Alexander, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. I mean, all these guys. I like Devontae Adams as a player, but
the money's crazy.
And it's just like, what do you think? We've talked about it before too, with like the free agency stuff when Brad's on. It's like, what do you think when if like you're a quarterback and you sign like a $45, $50 million plus a year contract? A Jamar Chase signs like he'll probably get close to Jefferson or above, just because that's such a fucking like.
I think he's going to get.
Then it's like, okay, now Burrow's got 60, Chase has 40.
Higgins,
what do you expect?
Higgins is going to get 30 something.
Yeah, and it won't be from Cincinnati. I want it to be.
I think it will be.
If they do, I mean, they might as well just you're done. You can't afford anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sit there and say, well, you got a chance to win. Be like, well, no, that's great. You haven't won anything.
No.
But if I can make 25 million from, I don't care if I go to Carolina and I can make 5 from you guys. Not saying money's everything, but at the same time, if I want to spread this money like a couple generations down the road, I'm going to want to take 25 over 5. Because again, I'm not going to sit there and be like well, here's LeBron and here's Dwayne Wade and here's Chris Bosh and we're just going to fucking get the rest of you guys from the YMCA rec league and pay you like minimums. I'm like, well, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm
like, figure it out. I want to see how the structure can be done, if it can be done like the Dodgers have done in the majors. But because I was going to say, I don't think it can be like spread like down the road, like deferred payments and all that other shit, unless, again, you get like released.
Yeah.
But remember, MLB doesn't have a cap either.
None.
They pay over the luxury tax, whatever that threshold is, which it's technically a cap, but it's just a number.
Yeah, it just becomes a minor penalty that's well worth paying if you win.
Yeah, it's arbitrary.
Yeah.
But you look at, like, if Cincinnati does that, though, like it worked in L.A. Look at the money that L.A. spent the one year, and they took it. They won the Super Bowl. They sucked for a few years, but here they are again. They're back in the mix.
Oh, yeah. And Higgins already said that he would take a below-market deal to stay with Cincinnati. Saying it and doing it are two different things.
Because, yeah, you're going to have my Chargers, Panthers, Bears. You're going to have a lot of teams out there that are going to have some.
Packers.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, Charlie, you bitch. She just shit herself. Hit me right in the face. Damn. The Packers have $63 million next year because all the Rodgers money's off the cap. So they have 63 million plus whatever the increase is going to be on the cap. And
But you gotta figure-
we need a wide receiver, a true number one.
Denver gets a little help too. Like
With the Russell Wilson money?
yep. They still have, I think it's roughly 2 years before all of that's like completely done. But there's a little bit of help going into the offseason because the way that they did it, they took the bulk of the hit in 24.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they figured they weren't going to be great.
And
Yeah,
take
going
the hit
to the
while you're paying a
postseason-
rookie quarterback.
Yeah, it's huge. Like it's huge from a monetary perspective. Absolutely. But again, like they weren't expecting to be worth a damn.
No.
They knew it was a rebuilding year. They knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, like the team surprised everybody. I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed how the season ended. But there's glaring holes on both sides of the ball in Denver, and they better figure out better ways to spend the money because the last few years, the people that they picked up in free agency haven't done shit.
No.
Wasted money.
No. So I don't know. Cincinnati, if they re-sign Higgins, because Chase isn't going to take a fucking pay cut. You better hope to hell you're hitting on every draft pick. And they haven't. There's been a lot of, again, Chase Brown, that was a good, I think, 5th round running back last year, but some of these complementary pieces, especially that O-line who signed, Bobo Jones's kid, Orlando Jones's kid, to a big contract, and he really hasn't done much of anything. And then again, it was what year was it? 18? The kid from the center from Ohio State, they had like 23rd overall pick, and he washed out of the league quick. Billy something, I thought. It's like, if you're going to give your top 3 offensive players approximately $110 million a year, you better
Protect.
fucking hit on your draft picks, and you better pretty much be ready for all your defensive players to go. Like, yeah, because it's not going to be charity when you see all this money being spread around. At some point, it's just like, I'd always be in the boat of, I gotta get mine at some point because I know the owners are making a shit ton of money. I want a Super Bowl ring. I want that, but at the same time, I want to make sure everything is good for me. Because I know once I'm gone out of the league, unless I'm some superstar, Tom Brady, Tony Romo, Peyton Manning, I'm not going to be revered. It's not like they're going to have Matthew Slater as a commentator anywhere.
Right.
Again, one of the best special team players of all time, and you don't fucking hear a peep about him because he retired and he's gone.
Like the days of players playing for the team and taking pay cuts to try and win championships, I think, are long gone. Because you go back to the 90s.
Yeah.
Cowboys being the prime example. Look at how many restructurings were done with Aikman and Emmett to keep that team intact to continue to win championships. The true meaning of a team player is almost non-existent. It's all about me and how much I can get paid. And there's no harm, no foul. Like, I get it.
But if you want to win, Brady was the best example of that.
As I say, that's the last example I know.
Yeah, he was never the guy that made the most money or wanted the most money.
No.
He won a championships.
Yep. And he fucking got him too.
Yep. Something that, like, in our lifetime, I don't think we're ever going to see somebody with 7 Super Bowl rings. One for almost every fucking finger, which is just ridiculous when you fucking think about it.
Crazy that if not for Eli, Belichick would have 10 Super Bowl rings.
That's true. That is true.
Because he got what? He got 6 with the Patriots and 2 with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Eli.
I mean, that Belichick got to coach Lawrence Taylor and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, Brady is the biggest winner the league has ever seen, and Lawrence Taylor is like number 1 football player on a lot of lists.
Yeah.
Definitely an athlete, that's for damn sure.
Oh yeah,
In more ways than one.
not a great human, but,
Correct.
but
Correct.
man, could he play football?
Hey, nobody ever said great football players have to be great humans, though, either.
Nope. I don't care that he did cocaine. Good for him.
Well, so did Michael Irvin.
Oh yeah.
Michael Irvin got busted.
Yep.
And if it was you, me, Bob, or Dave, we would have been sitting in prison for an extended period of time. Just saying.
Yep.
Of course, that was then. I mean, that was then. Like, rules are different nowadays when you really take things into perspective. Back in the 80s and the 90s, like, there was people got away with shit.
Yeah, it's because the internet wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Now,
taking pictures and video. And
now, different story.
Yep.
I always like. I think it was a 30 for 30, but like about the U. Listening about like the U and like, good Lord, that would have been just a.
Going to like
crew parties.
What was that, Bob?
When didn't they go to like 2 Live Crew? Like they were a big Miami Hurricanes fan. So yeah, like those parties. Luke.
Yep, Uncle Luke.
Uncle Luke.
God. Yeah, I mean, just like, I can't even imagine you walk into one of those parties and what you see. It'd just be like an alternate universe. So, So I go to the U, and this is a perk.
I mean,
Right?
this is going to happen all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I can live with this. I suppose I can manage.
And they were really good about hiding all that money too.
Oh
yeah. Well, the NCAA has been great about it all along.
yeah.
Oh, they fucking known. Like freaking college players have been getting kickbacks and freaking money for.
Did you guys see that you guys know who Shane Gillis is when he was on yeah, his comment to Saban? He did a follow-up with that on a podcast. Like, I guess they had some words, Saban had some words off camera for him,
Yeah.
Thinks he was calling him a cheater and all this and that. Like,
yeah.
I do not think the SEC paid players.
In all fairness, it technically is, but let's face it, that's the whole reason why the NCAA finally came to their senses and started allowing like the NIL type shit.
Well, but there were no guardrails installed before they went live with that shit, and it's become a problem. And it's not a name, image, likeness. It is legit pay for play.
Yep.
100%.
And that's why they need to shut that fucking portal down right now.
Yep.
Dude,
Portal is a very bad thing.
the portal is getting out of control.
Yeah, they were talking about it. I can't remember the clip I was watching, but they were talking about it. And the amount of players in the portal are more than all the scholarships available to NCAA football teams. It's an absurd amount of players. It's like close to like 8,000 kids in the portal.
But again, that goes to show you that everybody's all about themselves and about the money. It's
Yeah.
no longer about the team sport. It's
No.
not about winning championships for a city or anything. Like, it's all about the fucking money.
And I
Of
liked
course,
when the
that's
NCAA used to give like the one waiver. It was like, okay, or two. You had a family member, like a very close family member, that was ill, and I'm at North Carolina. I'm from Denton. I'm gonna go back and play for the UT. Okay, that makes sense because I'm my mom, my grandma who raised me, whoever it is. My sister's really in bad shape, and I don't want to be away from the family. Or it was the coach getting shit canned, and it's like, well, I came here because of Dougie Jones.
Sud coach.
Dougie Jones and his staff recruited me, and that's the system. Now we got Harvey Smith coming in, and I'm like, I'm not Jones and literally with this guy. I don't. I've seen his offense. I don't fit in that. If you're a 5'11" option QB, and he's running out Kerry Collins type quarterbacks, 6'4", 6'5", 220 pocket passers. It's like, well, I'm not going to be playing. I know that. So, I mean, that's where I liked somebody would be like, okay, yeah, you're released out of your scholarship and you're like, you can right away. Because again, it doesn't make sense not to. But now it's like, while I sucked at the beginning of the year, I couldn't beat out QB A and QB B. One of them got hurt, so he's transferring. Because QBB was better, even though I got a chance to play and I still sucked. Now I'm going to go too. Well, you suck. That's on you. I mean, I don't know. It's kids should have something, and it's not just football. It's not just basketball. It should be everyone. I'm not saying the water polo and fencing teams should get like as much as some of these other sports that bring in more money, but they should still get a healthy chunk. They shouldn't be like 1% of what these other people get. Because again, there's fucking plenty of money in college sports to go around. Broadcasting rights, naming rights for stadiums, people pouring money back into it that are like the graduates or whatever, the alumni. I mean, there's if somebody says they're running out of money, you just have to open up the other hand, and that's where that money's at. So
We'll see. Like, and this is just kind of like the shit that I have going on in my mind. When it comes to the transfer portal and everything else, it shows a lack of commitment by these kids. And if I'm the owner of an NFL team, and if I'm going to risk a high round draft pick, for instance, for one of these kids, why would I? Lack of commitment in college sports is going to transition into pro sports. And so am I going to get 110% out of you? All because I'm Jacksonville or Carolina or like a team that has sucked the last few years. Am I going to get all from you, or is it going to be the same shit? Because, okay, yeah, you drafted me. I'm going to play, but I'm not going to show my true potential because once my rookie contract is up, I'm going to go somewhere else and make even more money. non-committal in college is going to transition. It's going to happen. We hadn't seen it much yet, but you can almost guarantee, because with it, we all basically are in agreement. It's all about the money. I don't give a shit if you're the best thing since sliced bread. Why would I, as an owner, take a chance on you knowing that at any potential negativity or a lack in whatever, you're going to tuck your tail and go somewhere else? Why take a risk?
Wonder what the best thing before sliced bread was.
Unsliced.
Yeah, right. Loaves.
Is nuts.
I don't know.
I hear you, Steve. I think like I'm not a big college sports football guy or in general, but I was watching Pitt this year a little bit, and I didn't know this quarterback, and I guess we got him from the portal. He was from Alabama. Like, saw that he wasn't gonna be like the guy. So like coming to Pitt, it's like I was like giving him credit. It kind of looked like on the surface, like, okay, so you can like ride the bench at Alabama, or you can come and be like the man at Pitt, you know. But he went back to the portal, like, so it's like he just kind of quit on that opportunity. Didn't see it through. So like, but that was my initial thought, like, if I was somebody and I had a potential to play and be the man somewhere else at a D1 school, big time school, regardless of like, you know, their recent history of not really being, you know, it was just like, okay. But now I'm like, yeah, that's, so what do we do now? Like, this idea of recruiting somebody and then playing 4 years or 3 years for you, like, it's almost, it seems distant already for some schools.
Well, and things are different than what they were in the past. Like, all your big name colleges is where like most of your draft picks came from for decades upon decades upon decades. But you look over the last, what, 20, 25, 30 years, give or take, you're starting to see some of these lower end schools getting players drafted. So, like, you don't have to go play at Alabama or Texas or fucking USC in order
Georgia.
to get up. I'm just throwing Alabama, like all of those, Notre Dame, like LSU. You don't have to go play for these top tier teams that everybody knows about. Everybody has a chance, regardless of where you play. If you're fantastic and you're good, you may have a chance. Just because you go from Alabama to Pitt, for instance, thinking that you're going to be the man, is not always a guarantee that you're going to get looked at.
No.
I mean, shit, Tom Brady rode the pine for a lot of years in Michigan. Yeah, okay, he got drafted in the 6th round or whatever. But hello. Not the greatest of all time as far as I'm concerned, but when it comes to championships, 100%. I mean, you go back to what I talked about, Leighton Vander Esch. Like, I don't even remember what college he was drafted from, but they didn't even play. What?
Boise State.
But the fact that in high school, they didn't even, like, they played, what, 8v8? I think. It wasn't a full-on football team where he played in high school and still had a chance to go play at a decent college.
Yeah.
So, does it fucking matter anymore?
And that's the thing. It should be. It used to be Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin. You drafted linemen from. Notre Dame, LSU, Bama, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, another place you drafted linemen from. USC, that's where you wanted to get your receivers, and UCLA. It just, and like Washington, you wanted to get like your safeties up there and corners. It's I don't know when that like legitimately changed. I want to say like McNair would have been like the one where you're like, you know what you really should start doing is looking.
Wasn't he Alcorn State?
Yep. So it's not like, okay, you're sitting there and you're trying, okay, USC, Marinovich, bust. Notre Dame, Meyer, bust. Eric Zier, Georgia, bust. I mean, you go through all these guys. Again, Zier was a third rounder, but you still had that pedigree of like, oh, he'd had some big games, and he's Schuler, Tennessee, like second pick, bust. I mean, at some point you have to go away from looking at, unless again the quarterback performed in all these big games. He performs, maybe the team lets him down.
Always possible.
But you start looking, okay, this quarterback, well, man, he laid an egg against Penn State. Oh, this quarterback laid an egg against, like, Washington State. Oh, man, this one sucked against Colorado or what. If you expect every quarterback to have just, like, monster stats every game, that's not going to happen. Give me a quarterback that goes for, like, 14 for 30, 134 yards, maybe one interception, doesn't do real well, but then wills his team to victory. Maybe runs a couple plays. One of those plays, he's like scrambling and he's going to go out of bounds. He sees like a tight end flashing on a 3rd and 5, gets 7 yards. And that buries the game. Then they can kneel. It's like a 13-10 win. I want to see that opposed to the David Klingler, Andre Ware. If I want those numbers, I want to be playing a video game. Because you're not going to get those numbers in the NFL. You're not going to be 39 to 52.
But that's what they want. Who's watching sports?
Michael.
After review, it has been determined that the receiver.
Earth to Michael. Are you watching replays?
What's up?
I said, are you watching replays?
I was watching Des Bryant's no catch.
Oh, against Green Bay?
Yeah.
Which now would have been considered a catch?
Would it?
Last I heard, like based on rule changes, that would have been considered a catch.
I thought you still had to maintain control of the ball when you hit the ground.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that.
In all essence, that rule didn't exist though in that game.
Yeah. I don't know.
So that's ultimately what changed the rule.
That and Calvin
Because
Johnson against the Bears.
Yeah, the Calvin Johnson end zone, that was wild.
Because in all essence, those should have been catches.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I had Stafford and Johnson for fantasy. I'm like just jumping around and then say, no catch. I said,
Fuck.
if that's not a catch, I'm fucking Mr. Magoo and I'm not seeing a goddamn thing. I have no clue what's fucking going on right now. Because that was a catch. That was him catching and then putting the ball down as he got up. Mm-hmm. He had already completed the catch.
But again, like that's one thing that I hate more than anything these days is there is still so much ambiguity in some of these rules that it's left open for interpretation. It's not 100% clear.
Yeah.
And
the ball could be moving, and it's a catch. The ball could be moving. It's not a catch. Like,
well,
and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be one or the other. But at the same time, it should be just human. Okay, this ball's moving, and the ball moving helped him catch it. If he's got it, and the ball's moving, he still got it. But he's got his arms under it, his hands under it, and it's moving. It's not like it's on the ground moving and he's trying to scoop it. It's
But
moving
if-
because
But if the ground helps him maintain control, then technically it's not a catch. In the current rules,
why not?
because how many for how long? And okay, I can't ask Bob because he's not here. For the longest time, how many of us always knew that like the ground can't cause a fumble?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That rule's technically changed a little bit. Again, it's left open for interpretation. Because we, as fans of the game, can watch things and be like, okay, yeah, he's down. After review, it was confirmed that the ball was fumbled prior to what? The ground actually caused that. Hold on. Wait a minute. Not that it happens often, but like it's so gray that as a fan of the game, you're sitting there watching and be like, wait a minute, when did that rule fucking change?
Or how about the opening kickoff for the Packers-Eagles game?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
It was a complete botch job. Nixon was returning the ball, got drilled helmet to helmet, fumbled it, and then a giant pile of people, and an Eagle came out with it. Well, they went to the booth review because they're the ones who are supposed to look at the replay review, make a decision. There's two different angles that show that Nixon got the ball back, no problem whatsoever, and they still said the play stood. It was crazy.
Not enough evidence to overturn.
No, they did not say that.
It's interesting because usually that's their way out of shit.
Well, Brady and Sterator, they both said. Well, Sterator said, "Yeah, that's obvious. We have a feeling this is going to be the Packers' ball. That was a big break." And then they came back and said the play stood, and then they just don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
So if it was helmet to helmet, where was the fucking penalty flag?
Yeah, there was no penalty there either, but that isn't a reviewable thing.
Because I know it's not.
Yeah, because a flag wasn't thrown, they can't do it, even though it's obvious. I mean, Nixon said, "I've never been hit that hard in my life."
And that, like, so there was a point in the Denver game, and like it was a bad pass by Allen, kind of led the receiver, defensive back, freaking like literally was like trying to duck to be able to like go shoulder to shoulder, and it was helmet to helmet.
Yeah,
like to me, that was incidental contact. It
right,
like 100%. Like you can tell that the DB was doing everything that he could in order to try and limit the impact of hitting a defenseless receiver. Right. The flag was thrown. It was still called. Like the DB was like, "Hey, that's my bad." But again, it's like, I understand the rule. I get it. But there are situations in which it's like
intent matters.
And that's where I'm going with that. Because you could tell in full speed and in slow motion that he was literally trying to limit the hit and to avoid helmet to helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it was still called. Like, I get it. By definition, by rule, it is a penalty. But, like, give me a fucking break. Like, these guys are going freaking 20 miles an hour. Like, there are times in which, like, there is no way, like, in those situations to try and pull up or on either side could actually cause more damage to the player than if you just kind of let it happen, right? Mm-hmm. It's no different. The one that gets me more pissed off than anything is all about protecting the quarterback. Oh. A hand hitting the freaking like helmet of the quarterback is not fucking roughing the passer.
No.
I'm sorry. It's not.
Well, even the
But-
quarterbacks know it all. It's a joke.
Oh, and I'm sure. And like they play like they cater to it. Like I get it. Oh, I'm gonna fall. But getting hit by a hand in the helmet, intentional or not, is stupid to call a freaking roughing the passer penalty. Like that's just plain ignorant.
And then they showed like the Darnold when they got the safety, I think, in the first game when the Rams played him in the fucking helmet. The guy basically grabbed a face mask, turned his head, again, all by himself in the end zone, and he like puts his hands on his helmet like, oh fuck, I just fucked up huge. And they don't call a thing. I'm like, what are we looking at? You've got 6 officials. If you want to go to these booth reviews, do that.
Yeah.
You go to all this other shit about like, well, nope, that's a first down. You're basically doing the old like.
It's the inconsistencies, though. That is my chief complaint. I get it. Things are going to get missed. I get it. But at the same time, if you're missing shit as blatant as a legit roughing the passer, a legit pass interference, like Patrick Surtain should have been called for holding their pass interference on a play, and they didn't call it. Like it was blatant, and they didn't call it. They should have, and that's against my team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if they're missing shit, then add some more officials or something. Allow opportunities to be more consistent with stuff.
Yeah, or allow the booth replay guy to be one of the referees.
If you've got something that's egregious and something that it's just like any fucking buddy in that goddamn stadium or anybody watching at home sees,
yeah,
and it's a majority, it's not just like, oh man, it's 50.1 over 49. No, if it's like 95% are like, oh man, that's fucked up. Why aren't they doing it? Be like, okay, booth review. There was a holding on that play, 72. When again, if you're like, you're grabbing the dude and he can't fucking do anything, and his arms are like this because you're getting held.
Or listen to the broadcasters.
Yeah.
Look at how many times the broadcasters call out shit that it's like.
How's that?
You're sitting there going, you're watching. I'm like, okay, yeah, definite penalty. I saw it too. And then there's no freaking penalty flag on the field. You're going, wait a minute.
You've got how many fucking cameras at a game? You've got booth review. I don't know if he's in the studio or he's in like another booth up there, like the Sterator or one of these news officials. Usually, you've got the fucking the $6 million man. We've got the technology. Let's use it. No shit. Don't always have something where you leave doubt, because when you leave doubt, people start questioning the game and everything around the game. Like, how do you miss that call? How do you fucking miss that call? And you call a holding on something where I think it was one of the Rams players last night grabbed Metellus and held up for like a half second, if that. I'm like, so you're going to call that, which happens on every fucking play, but there's something else that's going on that you're like, that's okay. What's, like you said, consistency.
Yep.
I don't want the only consistency to be inconsistency.
Well,
I don't want that.
In all fairness, as we're all football fans, like we don't want it to get to the point to where games are completely flag ridden though either. Like, let them play the game. And if it's something, I've always been under the impression that if it potentially could impact the game in some shape, form, or fashion, a missed holding call on a 30-yard run, freaking illegal contact downfield, and yet they complete a pass for 35 yards. Like if there is something that could potentially impact the outcome of a game, that's the shit that needs to be called. Like you can't miss a holding, a blatant hold, and then have a run play for 30 yards or a pass completion for 25. Holding, illegal contact, whatever it may be, those type of plays can impact the outcome of a game.
The legal man downfield when it's I get the yardage you can only go downfield. You're like half a step beyond that and you're getting called. I'm like
Does it impact the play? It's no different like with an illegal shift. So, like, okay, offense has an illegal shift. It ends up in an incompletion. Does it really fucking matter? I mean, yes, it backs them up. But again, it's like, that's a bad example. But you kind of get where I'm going with some of this stuff. It's like, let them play. Focus on shit that can potentially impact the outcome of a game and be more consistent. Don't have me watch 2 games and they can be completely opposites as it pertains to the penalties called, but yet this game, penalties weren't being called that they were over here. Same shit. Like they should be called as close to possibly the same as it can. We all know there's shit left open for interpretation. I get it. How do you introduce consistency? That's the thing. Because how many times is like, and it's more so in the playoffs. By definition, like pass interference should be called, but yet it isn't.
oh God, all the time.
And that's more of a thing when you get to the postseason. They really do let them play. But, hand contacts and all this other kind of shit and bumping and stuff and trying to get position, that's not pass interference. It's not. It's not.
No, there's times when you see people grabbing the fucking arm.
Grabbing arms, grabbing jerseys, shifting, like that should be called every single time. But it's not.
No.
It's not.
And that's where, again, the booth review, it's like, well, we determined Marshawn Lattimore here screwed with Mike Evans, so that's a 15-yard penalty, or it's in the end zone that's at the 1. But it's like,
whatever.
You gotta fucking rectify the wrongs so people aren't sitting there and saying it's rigged and all this other bullshit, because, again, you're in bed with FanDuel and all these sports books now.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should be trying a little harder to be above board.
100%. I mean, there was, I don't remember if it was Kincaid or the other tight end for Buffalo. Like fucking plain as day, a fucking push off. He fucking straight pushed the fucking linebacker to cut back in a completed pass.
Yeah.
And there was no call. That's offensive pass interference all day long. Did it impact the outcome of the game? Absolutely not, because Buffalo was already up by like 20-something points or whatever. So, like, at the end of the day, it didn't matter. But, hello?
But that's the thing. Even if it doesn't impact the final score, it impacts the integrity of the game. You just I don't care if it's 64-0. You got to call the game like it's 0-0. You got to call it like it's supposed to be called, no matter what. If somebody doesn't like it, well, that's fine. I mean, that's okay, because I'd rather have the game being called the way it should be instead of, well, now we're going to change a little bit and the game's out of hand, so we're going to just sort of let stuff go. It's like, well, no. Then people feel like they can get away with shit. And like, no, fuck that. You play within the brackets of the rules or you'll get flagged for it. Simple as that.
I mean, we also don't want games that have like 50 penalties, though, either.
Well, no, but then again, at some point, somebody's got to tell them on the bench, be like, hey, fucking stop hand fighting. Stop grabbing their arms. I mean, you're going to get called.
But
And
again, if there's 50 penalties, then 50 penalties should be called.
Yeah. And
But
guess what?
like,
If somebody's you're pass interference. We got 70 yards of pass interference. Now we're at the 5. We score a touchdown. Do it the next drive. Same thing. Coach it. If you don't fucking tell your players, well, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be coaching, and your players aren't going to be playing.
hey,
So-
fuckers, they're calling this every time. Stop doing it.
Yeah. And you hate to hear well, I'm not doing anything. Well, you fucking sure aren't. You're doing something, you dipshit. I mean, they're not calling it because they want to see what a flag looks like falling from the sky. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It.
This is why I don't watch a whole lot of football though, is because I love the game. I do. I love it. And I don't care who's playing. I love the game of football. But it's the more times I watch it, I'm more and more disappointed because there is literally no consistency. It could be like the Cowboys because like they're always on TV here. I hate them. But I can sit there and be a fan of the game and be like, oh, well, that was a holding call. Where's the flag? They're fucking holding Micah Parsons almost every like, where's the call? It's disappointing as a fan more than anything. And I'm speaking for myself, but like to me, the Denver Buffalo game was called pretty fair. Like again, there was a couple missed calls that I noticed. Again, it didn't impact the outcome of the game. And there was one that should have been called against Denver, one that should have been called against Buffalo. But when the score got to whatever it was, I don't remember. I think they were up by 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns at that point. I turned it off. Like there's no chance. So what was the point in finishing watching? So I don't know. Should we move on to the most important topic of the day, though? Since it is right around the corner.
Did you have any goals? Because I don't even remember last week.
No.
Okay.
No.
Robert, did you have any goals? What's going on, Jeff?
Make a video.
Okay.
Just a video. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm not a big goal guy.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, I mean, get more organized. Is that too cliche?
No.
Let's say get my collection back, and then we'll go from there.
No, that was part of the topic, Paul, but we probably won't touch on that because who cares? And originally it was Vegas, but Dave obviously changed it to Dallas because that's been the rumor mill as of late.
Yeah, Celine has her residency there, of course, but I don't know if it's all in prime time. Prime time.
I think the only thing that I'll actually like put on my radar for this year is just making sure that I have an opportunity to re-audit the collection again and get stuff integrated because of the fucking bomb that Vinny freaking dropped on my ass for Christmas. So, because there was a lot of 24 stuff, a lot of 23 stuff. So it's one of those in which I don't know how current my checklist is with the newer year stuff. Because I know when I sent, well, like I know it's not, but I don't know where it cuts off because I don't remember when it was last year that I sent like the checklist to you and Vinny for some of your football guys. Actually, I didn't send anything to. No, I did send something to Vinny. I don't remember who it was, but I know I sent a couple to you, Dave. But I want to like that was earlier in 24 though too.
Yeah. So I took your spreadsheet and then I went to each of the tabs by year and filtered on what you didn't have, put it all on one tab so I could search it easier. And then I marked them as I got stuff. I marked the stuff off.
So like that'll be the only goal for 25 is to be able to get stuff integrated, get my new updated counts, make sure I mark my shit off so I have a more current checklist. Because I actually had somebody reach out to me on Instagram asking like if I had holes from 95 to 2000. I was like, absolutely I do. But I was like, I need to re-update my checklist and double check and figure out what I don't have, and not that I'll be able to work out anything with them. But at the end of the day, you know, since Vinny's like turned into Mega Claus, I can just say, hey, you know, if you're wanting to get rid of some of this stuff, you can always reach out to my buddy. Here's his Instagram handle. He may end up picking some stuff up for Christmas.
Hardy har har.
Well,
Which you're not
at
wrong.
least you would know it's stuff that I needed.
Yeah, true that.
Because I know everybody hates like sending me stuff that I have. Not that it matters. It still has significance. It still has importance. It still means something to me.
Did you figure out if you already had the card I sent you?
No, I hadn't looked. That's the one thing I haven't done yet.
Add it to your goals list.
I know I have some Fabric of the Game like numbered to 5 and autographs, but like I don't remember what years they are. And regardless, that doesn't matter. Like that will definitely cement its place into the collection. And if I have like the other one will move to the Broncos autograph collection, right? Like that patch is fucking killer, man. Like that definitely deserves a place in the TD collection, regardless. Even though that's what I do anyways.
The
Like,
patch was what caught my eye.
oh, it's fucking absolute stunner, man.
Did you watch the AT&T commercial?
No.
With your boy Tebow in it?
Yeah, I sent it in the link or sent it in the
Oh.
chat. That one made me laugh. I was
That was-
again pretty much because of our like constant chatter about him, but he was like a valet or whatever. And he wasn't the valet. He was throwing the keys to the valet or something. One of the two, and
he was throwing the keys to the valet. You were right.
and he missed the valet's hand by probably a good 6 feet.
Well, that would be typical then. So they got it right on the head.
And then hit the back of the fucking like I don't know, like a Suburban or something like that, and
I guess I'll have to go watch it.
broke the window. And man, and then like later on, it was like underneath the vehicle or something, and I'm like, I was laughing far too hard at it because I'm like, this is great. Because Evo just like his normal
on the joke.
Yeah, he's just laughing. He's just like, oh man, which again, make fun of yourself. That's again, as much as I don't like him, I like him because he again can laugh.
Well, I've always said like you have to be able to laugh at yourself, anyways. Like if you can't laugh at yourself, then there's a bigger problem.
If you can't laugh at yourself, you can laugh at other people.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting there like doing shit for work and be like, why the fuck do you do that, you dumbass? Like, really?
Yeah, I can't say that. I don't know what that means.
I work on a computer. I don't like physically do shit. So
And I am the opposite.
I guess I'll have to go back and find this because, being honest, like I only click on a few things here and there when there's links
Yeah,
and shit.
I saw it, I think, during that Chargers game, and I'm like, oh, well, now I'm going to have to go look for it. So I'm like, this is great.
Let's see.
Another one of my goals I've thought about, and I'm like, I wouldn't mind, again, using my brain and, like, actually commenting on a few more videos than I usually do. I mean, not like sitting there and writing a soliloquy all the time, but at the same time, yeah, it's great to give like the thumbs up and yeah, we let them know and so on. But sometimes try to get in there and comment, especially if you haven't commented in a while. It's not like I know Eric Fourleaf does a good job with that. Henry S is another one that's always trying to comment, but
I'm terrible about it.
Huh?
I'm terrible about commenting.
And that's one thing I'd like to be a little better. I mean, if and even more so than my like decent or adequate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll throw that out there if it's a couple card mail day and whatnot, but yeah, if you get something big, I should, especially like again, if it's something that's meaningful, just say something a little more, and or if it's a subject that's like, okay, I've thought about this too, and I don't want to make a video on it, but I'm going to give you, since you're talking about it, I'm going to give you what I think about it because it's going to save me 25 minutes from making a video. I can take 5 minutes to type some shit through, and that'll be that, and then move on from that. But yeah, I thought about that too, a little more chitter chatter, but not much, not much.
Yeah,
If I'm-
sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, there are it's probably been a goal of mine before, but there's certain Shaq cards that I wouldn't mind adding. How they're just big cards, so it's like I'd have to save up quite a bit to grab, one of them. Which one's like looks like the Buzzsaw? Is that from EX?
A cut above from a.
I would love to add that card. I'd probably try to focus on more Lakers and Magic stuff than anything else, but I would love to add one of those. See, like the Duncan Go Nuts card, that doesn't appeal to me as much. Like there's certain inserts that command a price, but that cut above always has kind of stood out to me. There's a couple others that I'm just blanking on, but like I'd love to add a Beam Team Members Choice. You know what I mean? But again, something I'd have to save up all year for, basically, to unless I can sell some stuff, which could be an option as well to add to the pool of money. But I think that's kind of where I probably will trend towards, just like making significant purchases rather than
the nickel and diming.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sit at a dollar box all day and go through it. I love picking up those kind of cards, or just something that makes me smile. Not to sound corny, but or something from that set. Like I mean, I'm not a Josh Allen collector, but when I saw a Z team of him back in March, it was a cool card, so I snagged it for like $5 or whatever. Because the Z team itself, that's kind of an era when I started out. They were like the coolest cards going. You know what I mean? All that Dufex. This wasn't that style, but it was slightly embossed, great picture, cool design, and a player that I like. So I don't think that'll ever go away. But it was like a representation. Vinny did a little of that for a representation of that set. It might not be your guy, but it's like somebody from a set that just the design appeals to me as a collector.
Well, yeah, we've talked about that. If you can't get the Shaq, maybe
Yeah,
there's like a TR Ryder, or there's a Glenn Rice, or somebody of that ilk. That, hey, that's not going to fucking put you in the poorhouse. It's going to be like, okay, that's a $20 card, but spending on the
Right.
Shaq, like,
There's still a few Randy Moss. I wanted to do. I was in the process of doing the Topps Chrome Refractor run for him. There's still like 4 or 5 I need. Like counting the highlight. If he has like 2 cards in the set, I would get the highlight card. So the rookie's obviously on that list. So that's a huge card. I wouldn't need it graded. Maybe I would want it graded and get it in like a 5 or a 6 or something. That would. I mean. I don't know. I haven't shopped for that card in a while, but that's on there. But bigger cards that go directly into a PC.
like Austin Meadows and.
Well, yes, I have plenty. I have plenty of humongous cards for my Meadows PC. My dad, he was like, "Wouldn't it be awesome if he just made like a comeback?" You know what I mean? I'm like, "Well, yeah, that would be awesome." I don't see it happening, but I mean, and then Parker Meadows, I believe, took his spot in the outfield in Detroit, which is kind of surreal.
It'd be nice to actually hear like what's going on in Austin. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I just want him on the right track. That's all I want. But I mean, I just want to know.
He's not a real. I'm gonna post on Twitter to update everybody. I think I follow him on Instagram, but I'm sure I do. But I don't think he's posted in a while, and I haven't checked. So anytime I type his name into Google, it's kind of like former baseball player.
Yes.
And Michael,
yeah,
I would just say,
go ahead, man.
I did not have it, so
excellent, even better.
I that's what I was working on. I was purposely going and checking because, again, I have quite a few of the team logos numbered to 5. So, but that was, I went and double checked the checklist, and it's another mark off the need list. So
sweet.
It's a good feeling on both ends.
Oh, 100%. Like, and that's better than probably any of the ones that I could have found because that fucking patch is fucking killer, man.
Yeah, you don't see those anymore. Well, you might see them nowadays, but they're not game used.
Very true.
No.
Very true.
It's been absolutely hilarious and sad at the same time seeing the stuff that came out of Flawless where you've got the vertical dual patch autos of the veterans and everything, and there's a Joe Namath with 2 Nike swooshes as the 101.
No.
It's like, what the fuck?
I saw a short recently of it was somebody talking about him seeing somebody else do this, but like it's shining a light through the relic. Like I guess the relics, if you tear, they have like their names on the backs of them.
Yeah,
and it was like the player pictured on the card wasn't the player like name on the back of the relic, so that's why it says like no game, event, or player. You know, so it's like they're just, you got a jersey hanging around. It's let's cut it up.
The sad thing is, though, when you look at some of that stuff, some of that sells for more than game used or game worn.
Oh yeah.
Which when you sit there and you're going, okay, hold on, wait a minute. Not from any game, event, or whatever is the generic nomenclature used these days. And yet some of that shit is still selling for more than what we know to be game used or even game worn. And
The reason for that is collectors nowadays don't collect the guys that are retired.
Very true.
And it's not that they're collecting the guys now. They're buying them to flip them.
That's
but
true.
The frustrating thing for me is if I was somebody that was a massive fan of a guy playing right now, knowing that my guy's never going to have anything game worn would be very frustrating.
100%. 100%. I would. Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, as far as I know, I remember Josh Allen had game use in his second year in T. And the Colossal set, the Colossal cards were game used for him. But I believe that's his only game use cards.
Well, Mahomes has nothing.
Mahomes has nothing except there is a year of flawless either last year or the year before where the card said game used, but people actually think that was an error because Mahomes has nothing.
Yep.
No, not yet.
So
I mean, because we all know, like rookie year, it's all player worn stuff. Like,
yeah, I don't expect
that's been a
it to be
given
game
for
used.
years. That's been a given for years.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth, in consecutive years, we were always, I will say, under the impression. It's not that we were expecting it, but because of history, that there would be more game used or game worn stuff. But ever since 2016, 2017?
It really started in about 2018.
Okay. Because like for TD, the reason why I cut my stuff off at 2015 is in 2015, there is game used and there is quite a bit of player worn stuff too. Like the higher end, what was it? Topps Definitive.
Yeah.
One of the higher end products. TD is player worn stuff.
Everybody in Definitive is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
See, like I haven't paid attention to it because like.
And starting it was 2014 5-star, they went away from game used. It became authentic memorabilia.
But again, like 2015 is that's why I cut it off.
Yeah.
Because there is stuff in 2015 that is game worn. But there's a lot of stuff that is player worn. And I think there's a handful of things. I want to say, was it a Donruss product that he had a actual game used jersey card? Can't remember what the subset was, but there are a spattering of stuff in subsequent years. But 2015 was at least kind of like a 50-50, 60-40 deal.
Yeah.
So I was okay with cutting it off at 2015. If I wanted to like stick true to form and say game use stuff, then I would have to cut it off at 2014 for him.
Yeah,
but
I think
like some of the stuff from 2015.
Clay stopped having game use and it was 16 or 17. Yeah, I think it was 17.
But and we've talked about Eminence before.
Yeah.
Like 98% of that product is all player worn. That's like a $5,000 per pack product.
I didn't even remember ever seeing any game worn out of Eminence.
Again, I know TD was in it. I saw a few things. I knew TD was player worn. I don't pay attention to anybody else.
Yeah.
Because that's not my focal point.
There's a beautiful Rogers from Eminence up right now, patch auto. I think it's out of 5. It's absolutely gorgeous, but player worn.
And something like that, like if you're going to so like NT, Flawless, Eminence, 5-star, and I'm talking specifically football related products, higher end stuff, you're expecting a consumer to pay a higher price point. Make this shit game used.
Yeah.
Or at a minimum, game worn.
You're funny.
All of us would be satisfied with game worn. Because all that means is they wore a jersey during a game and they took it off. It didn't have to see field to play, but at least we know it was worn during a game.
Yeah, that was the original marketing behind Flawless Football was
100%.
Veterans were going to be game used, and they were the first year.
Yep.
The first year, and I think even the second year. I think 14 and 15 both, veterans were all game worn. And then they started with the fuckery of some were game worn, some were player worn.
Player worn.
And then it went completely away where they stopped trying and started putting Mitchell and Neff's relics in the cards. And like I said, with the new product that came out where you've got the legends with the
Nikes.
plastic NFL shields as the 101s and the Nike swooshes, when Nike wasn't a thing when Joe Namath played football.
100%. But manufacturers getting lazy. Like Panini knew that over the last few years, the last couple of years, they lost the license.
Yeah.
So why would they care?
Yeah, they don't.
Why would they care? And
The problem is they didn't.
It's not
The
going to
problem
change.
is once they got the monopoly, they didn't care.
Well, 100%. But like Fanatics ain't going to care either.
No, they don't care at all.
I mean, the trend is going to continue. People are not going to see game used stuff. It's just because it's too expensive.
It should be, to me, it should be part of the NFLPA and the NFL license. There should be an agreement in there that so many uniforms per team have to be handed over.
I don't disagree.
I
don't disagree.
And
because for those of us who have been doing this for a lot of years, game used was a huge thing for us collectors.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those, it's hard to put into words, but I'm holding a card with a piece of jersey or a piece of football or whatever from a game in which the player that is depicted on this card played it.
Yep.
Like the football is one thing because like that could be attributed and put into any card for any player for those teams in which that football was used, right?
And it was likely a kicker ball.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, but like from a player perspective, I'm holding a card, literally, in which this piece of swatch was cut from a jersey that this player wore. That was a big deal. Huge. And I'm speaking for myself, but I feel like some of us have taken that for granted. Because those were the good old days. Especially when DLP, Donruss League Playoff, actually freaking put the picture on the back of the card. The piece of memorabilia that is in this card actually came from the jersey pictured here.
Yep.
All right, we've seen enough hockey cards. we don't care about net cards.
You know, it's Game Gear.
That is not Game Gear.
It is. It's from a hockey game.
Prove it. It doesn't say Game Gear. When I hear Game Gear, I expect to see Game Gear cards from Collector's Edge.
The enclosed all-star skills competition that is guaranteed Game Gear by Panini America.
No, that is not what it says, bitch.
Sure. To the best of my recollection.
No, you need new glasses because that is definitely not what it said. Nice try, Dave. Nice try.
Game.
I believe you, Dave.
So we are coming up on an hour and 50 minutes. Figured we'd probably want to touch on the other subject before we actually call it an evening. But I did have a question for Dave and Vinny. And I'm just curious. Have either one of you started using the gift from Bob for anything that you have coming in as of yet?
Vinny and I texted Vinny the other day about this.
It go poof.
So you've already spent yours?
I said to him, well, I burned through the gift card.
I have too, sir.
But
I got some
did
badass
you? But you better have spent it on yourself
Yes.
per Bob's regulations.
Yes.
That's what we
Okay.
and that's what we both talked about. I said I feel so weird not doing what I wanted to do with it and doing what he asked us to do with it. So I'm like, oh.
Well, I have to admit I have not. I don't I don't find myself on eBay much these days.
Season 13, that was one of them.
Nice.
I'm like, I will get something that he would enjoy as well. So even if I can't buy for him, I will buy with him in mind and also me in mind. So
Well, see, and here's my conundrum. Do I maximize and get more things, or do I go after something that's like big? You know what I mean? Do I get a multitude of, I don't want to say smaller things because it's not smaller things. That's a bad use of the term. But should I go for quantity, or should I go for quality and it only being like one thing? You know
but
what
can't
I mean?
you do both? Just
No.
because something might not be.
But here's the thing. What I mean by that is, like, because TD prices are so like fucking like weird. There's situations in which I could get like 4 to 6 autographs for instance. You know what I mean? But then there's like other stuff that, you know, it would basically be the gift card and I would still have to cough up some cash. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do I do? Do I go the big thing? Or do I go a lot of the small things that are still big because they're additions and they add to the counts and everything else? Nothing small in this situation, but it's like I'm torn.
I think it's going to be, again, for me, if I'm looking at that vantage point or through that lens, I'm looking, again, like availability.
Yeah.
Has something been like sneaking around for a while and you're like, okay, I see this, I've seen this up for, again, a long time, but at the same time, you're like, I'd like to get it, but, and then all of a sudden something pops that you're like, holy shit, I haven't seen this in like at least 3 years.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I haven't come across something where it's like, oh shit, like that's it. Because and like that's awesome, and that's one of those situations where it's like I want one of those moments. So, and again, like I don't look on eBay like I used to.
You want something out there that makes the decision for you.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
I have a couple of those items on my eBay watch list that have been there for quite some time that if I had the ability to use a chunk on it to get it down to the price where I'm comfortable, where I wanted to pay out of pocket for it, that's the way I go.
Well, nothing has spoken to me yet. And that's the thing. It's like, how do I approach this? And like at the end of the day, it's what I choose to do with it because that's the joy of it.
Yeah.
But I'm still like I'm asking for feedback as it pertains to like so Vinny was like something spoke to him, that's what he went with. Dave, I'm sure a few things spoke to you, and that's what you went with.
It's weird. I'd say what I got with it, but it was stuff I picked up a lot, maybe like a week or two before of something, and so I sort of had that in mind, and I watched something of the same ilk. And again, I'm not going to go out and buy this stuff brand new, but if it's lightly used for holding cards, I'm all about that because I'm not going to spend $3 to $4 brand new for a mag or a one touch.
Yeah, you could have bought kitchenware with it. I didn't care what it was. I mean,
Well, and
so
like we know that there wasn't, hey, like buy cards with this. Like we understood that was not the expectation. But we are card guys,
yeah,
and like, or I should say collectible guys, like because Dave does his DVDs and stuff. Like so that still kind of falls in line.
for sure.
And
But I feel as though at some point we want to be able to make a video that says, hey, these are the pickups I got from the gift from Bob Lewis at Christmas. You know what I mean? Not that that's what you want, not that you give a shit about that, but that's like my mindset. I want to sit there and be able to say, okay, Bob did this for me for Christmas. This is what I got. I'm not going to sit there and go freaking show off freaking pots and pans. You know what I mean? That's not what my channel is. My channel is cards.
I got an Amazon gift card that I'm using on a new pan. That's normally $200. I got a $50 Amazon card. It's going towards that pan because I want it.
Nice.
And I get it, but again, like that would feel really weird for me. What's going on? Long time no see. Yeah, I just wanted to make a video about. I bought this fucking. Like no.
I bet you'd be surprised at how many people would be like, yes.
You're probably right, but again, like we came here through cards, like that's what I'm ultimately going to go with, and it was more curiosity because again, like I don't go look at eBay a whole lot nowadays. I don't. This is going to sound bad, but it's because I don't care.
So
I have money to spend, but I don't care.
Yeah, I had my original. Well, like I had the thought of kind of what Michael hinted at, that like there's a big card that could come up that like if I had a certain amount of money, it would definitely make that more palatable. Like, do you know what I mean? Because so I almost.
Sorry, Bob. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you,
but yeah, you get my point. You get my point. Ultimately whatever you guys want to do with it. So it's I'm just if it brings you joy, then I'm good.
So, Dave, what is that? Dave.
Hold on, I'm getting them all out.
Well, you didn't have to get it out. You could have at least responded to the question. I don't know what that is.
Those wrestlers?
All like lightly used one touch.
Okay.
I think the guy said there's like 185 of them or 200, somewhere in there.
Various sizes?
Yep. So I'm like, again, that's one thing I've always said I want to get. I know a lot of my Josh Johnson collection is in shitty, taped up top loads or garbage one touches that are scratched to fucking hell. And that's something again, it's like, okay, it's not glamorous at all. Most people won't even do that with the gift card. And I'm like, well, again, this is something I need to do at some point. I'm like, this, and then this was like, okay, I can buy cards, and that it's like, yes, that's always
But
a
it was
nice
something
thing.
that you needed and not something
Yeah.
that you would normally buy
Dude,
yourself.
and
So like
I
it,
get
it
it.
served a purpose.
That's truly an enhancement to the Josh Johnson collection. You know what I mean? Like I get that because I have some of my like Moss Shack Meadows, like all those guys. Their big cards are in nice looking plastic, nice looking magnetics or whatever.
And I mean,
Well,
it's like,
and again, like I get it because all my autos, all my patches, they go in mags. And mags are fucking expensive.
They have gotten ridiculous.
Yeah,
and I'm not
stupid
and I'm not
expensive.
gonna spend. Like I said, I'm not gonna spend like $4 for a new one. Again, I bought 2 at the card shop down in Duluth, but they were to put the diamond card and then the Bowman red that Brad got me in there. And again, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like, why don't I do this with like a lot of this shit? Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I've got already in mags. I know I bought one for, I think, one of the Johnson. It was like the Johnson Verlander Weaver 101 triple auto, but it's like, why don't I do more of that? Why? What's the hold up there? Again, not that you hear a lot of tubers out there, people like, oh, I like to look through my collection all the time, and I know Michael does, just to keep it fresh. But you don't have the depth or like the overarching like just like volume
No.
to look through. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and like look through 15-20 boxes of fucking shit. It's like I've looked through it. There's photographic evidence of me looking through it.
Yeah.
So it's like I want that stuff in there so that if I choose to look through, and like even Dumba too, because there's like, he's got a lot of that Supreme swatches and Supreme patches and the NT shit that's like
130 to 180.
And yeah,
all
some of that
day
might
long.
be even on like a 240 where I'm like, it might not be great in there, but it's better than sitting like exposed in like a pile. So just
the only ones that are worth it are like the booklet.
Yeah.
Mags. Like those are expensive as fuck, but at the end of the day, that's
It's your
almost
only
worth the
option
investment.
for storing them.
Yeah, that's almost worth the investment.
Because I've got I think I've got there's one I think with R.A. Dickey, and then there's the one with Strasburg, like the
you've got the All-Star booklet 101 or
and then there's
whatever.
like
I
those
know
two,
it.
like the All-Star and then the letters, I think.
Because I only have one, and it's for my 6-way auto. But like, I could go for at least one more with the one from Playbook that I showed a couple weeks ago or whatever, number to 25. Because as of right now, that's literally in a snap case, because there's nothing else to hold it.
Yep. Well, before I sold my limited dual booklet with the Ray Nitschke cut and the Clay Matthews autograph, before I sold that to Joey, I bought one of those custom-made booklet holders.
Okay.
It was worth the money. I think it was, around $20-25, but it was super nice.
Well, I'm not saying do that for like everything, but again, if you've got something of that magnitude, if for nothing else, it's like just taking pride in like what you're spending your money on, your hard-earned money.
Right. Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, I still have a lot of autos in screw downs, and that's, I hate screw downs. I hate them. So, like, there are times in which Vinny probably doesn't want to hear this, but like, there are certain times in which I know he may, like, during Christmas when he buys stuff, he keeps stuff in the same thing that a lot of the cards come in. So if they come in mags, he leaves them in mags. But like for me, it's not a mag card. So I'll repurpose said mag and get rid of a screw down. Because I hate screw downs. And like one of my objectives at some point, and I'm not saying it as a goal, I'm saying it as an objective, is that I will have no screw downs for any autos or patches. Like I want them all gone. But I have to have the mags in order to do that.
Yeah, the only screw downs in my collection are courtesy of Bob Wilkie, because he's the screw down king.
Yep.
And he always put them in with the screw at the bottom of the card.
And a lot of people do that. Like I still have a few cards in which the screw part is at the bottom of the card. So it kind of, but on an autograph, if the autograph is at the bottom of the card, it kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Don't you love when your mags, the magnets are opposite? So like if you're trying to stack two mags on top of each other, they're like polar opposites. So they like shift.
Yeah. Yep.
Why can't they all get on the same page with that?
Yeah, I have to have that magnetic part at the top. I can't. It's
on the magnetics 100%.
I'm OCD to like I can't have something like switched up, and I know we're gonna sit there and go through and make sure everything's kosher, and because there's been times too when it's like a backwards way in the mag too, where you have the recessed part and then you put the card back first into the recessed part, so the front is flush with the top, and then you put the thing on. I've seen people flip them around where the recessed part, the front of the card is on that to the bottom. I'm like, no, what are we doing here? I mean, this is.
And I hate when
you gotta be like a Russian or something to do that. I'm like, come on.
I hate when I want all my cards to face the same direction, and it drives me nuts when cards are slabbed by either Beckett or PSA and they're facing the wrong direction. And when they do it the opposite, it bugs me so much. My NT dual auto of Rogers and Clay, it's in the magnetic exactly how I want it, but if you look at the back of the card, it's upside down.
It's like if it's graded, or if it's like this, I gotta have this.
Yep, exactly like that. That's how the card has to face.
And if it's like this, I'm almost tempted not to buy it.
Yep, I've been there too.
If it's rarity, it's like I will do it, but I'm not going to be happy. But
I would almost buy it and then want to send it with a post-it note saying, "Fix this fucking card" when you send it back to Beckett to reslab it.
That's 3 F words from Michael tonight.
Wow. I said a lot more when I was on mute.
Yeah, but see, he doesn't have the same policy as you do.
I have
too, though. There's no filter. Well, there's times in which I'm not as OCD as like Dave or Michael, for instance, but there are times in which, for whatever reason, when I realize that like my jersey or patch cards are like the opposite direction compared to the majority. And then there's times it's like I get in the mood to where I literally will like start flipping everything over. And then when I start going through my stuff, I'm like, this is like half and half. Like, what the fuck? But I don't ever take the time to sit there and say, okay, moving forward, all my freaking horizontal cards, I want this way. Because like there are times in which the manufacturers, like, they'll put the number on the right side of a horizontal card. So in that situation, the number should be at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got other times in which it's on the left side and it doesn't look right to put the number at the top because then it's like flipped the other direction. So I quit trying to be consistent with that. So I have jerseys and patches and stuff that like go opposite directions.
Or when you have the card, and then on the back,
It's
that's the
upside down,
correct
man.
way. When the back, like this part, if you go like this, and then on the back it's upside
Opposite
down.
direction.
I just, oh my God, I lose my shit because I'm like, it's not that hard to do. It shouldn't be that difficult to. I want
But
aesthetically, okay, look, I'm doing this. I'm turning it right over. I don't need to be.
But everybody's different, Dave.
I'm aware of that.
I am aware.
But it's an easy fix when it's in a top loader or a mag. If it's in a fucking holder from a third-party authenticator, you're screwed. It's you either accept it or you break it out of the slab.
Say
Those are
it's
your
a,
options.
it's a hammer and it's a screwdriver and you're trying to chip that top of the fucking slab because you're just
Fucking buy a Dremel tool.
blah, blah, blah.
I'm just and something like random off the cuff here. All these people with the freaking, tutorial videos of how to break shit out of slabs and everything else, snipping the corner at a diagonal, using the screwdriver. Buy a fucking Dremel tool. You buy a Dremel tool, you can fucking cut right through the plastic and like you're done. Just saying. And the freaking the discs and shit for a Dremel tool that will actually allow you to kind of cut through plastic, they're a dime a dozen almost. That is probably the easiest way. If you don't want to go that route, go spend a few $100s, get yourself a scroll saw. There are other ways.
That's like Hall of Fame type information.
Well, but I'll never make it there, so I figured I'd share it on this great conglomerate of people that will also never make it into the Hall of Fame, except for one. That guy down there.
Robert Louis. Right now on the Mystery Science Theater stream on YouTube, episode 910. It's got the bacony stink of Canada. The final sacrifice.
Oh, sweet.
Oh my God! I'm just watching the no real audio, and I'm like I can roll in my head what's being said just because I've
watched it 50
I
million
may have
times.
watched it one or two times, allegedly.
I will say I did buy something. Actually, a few something. I think I mentioned this.
A rodeo clown without makeup. Oh my God.
Oh, sweet.
But I did get my Prism. Longevity.
Okay.
Which is weird to me that Longevity became a retail release because it used to not be. I know it has been the last few years, but I just thought that was kind of odd that because I had never seen Longevity up for sale before. So, and what's interesting? Go ahead, Vinny.
No, you
Go ahead.
Nope.
No, go ahead.
No, nope. You go.
Vinny, go.
No, when you're done, I'll do my
fucking talk.
Okay. I went back and actually found the episode where we did our goals for 24, and I actually rewrote them down. Since I lost the suckers last year. So I'm going to burn through this in about a minute.
20 seconds is all you got.
Okay. Buy only what's on your list. I did better than usual. So I did about 50-50. So that one was only by
He can't even
You
read his
just
own
wrote
writing.
it down.
dude, I wrote it in shorthand and I can't see because these are my old glasses. Because my new glasses, golly, knocked them off the bed and both the lens popped out, and I got to go get it fixed.
Excuses.
Yeah, I know they're like assholes, and I'm an asshole. So anyhow,
This is
only
true.
only buy cheap doubles. That was a failure.
I was gonna say,
Big time.
But by other players off the list, that didn't work out well. Learn more about TCG and Pokemon. Look at other hobbies. That I did more than cards.
Yes.
I got back into my pens. I got back into looking at watches. I got back looking at pen knives.
We got a picture of Bob leaving his desk and his ass is now frozen. In front. We're gonna leave
Pure
it there.
Bob Lewis. So that get more Bix Media or however you say it, like TV shows, movies.
That really didn't happen.
that's a zero.
No. I looked into video games. I did buy my son-in-law a PlayStation 2 for Christmas. So I
That doesn't count.
So
No,
I
that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
to get my PlayStation 2 back from him.
Oh, okay.
I want my PlayStation 2 back.
Hopefully Bob comes back before.
And then I got to buy cables. I found my nephew sold me his PlayStation 3, but it doesn't have cables for some reason. I don't know if somebody else who had one needed the cables and took them or what, but I think it cables for that. Also,
so that was a bad purchase if it didn't come with cables. Just
yeah. For some reason, I think he said he didn't have a cable. He lost it in the move. So whatever. 160 episode 165. The Oracle did say that Russ was going to Pittsburgh, and you also messaged Chicago and Fields actually went to Pittsburgh as well. Organize and integrate. I did probably better on that than I thought I would. It's getting better.
And your previous statements were not important.
Okay. And work on 24 Xmas, which I think I did quite well on.
And then some.
So that was that. And then basically my 2025 goals are to
nothing.
Work on my checklist for Mario and get it straightened out. And I'm trying to do like a set of cards every day and put them into my checklist. And then work on the Young Guns. I put the Young Guns checklist together by teams up until 21, 22, I think. And then I'm going to go 21, 22 on because Cardboard, what was it that the guy quit? The guy that was doing all the checklists? Cardboard Connection?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he had it up to a certain point by teams. So
just go to Beckett.
Yeah.
The only problem is that unless you have a subscription, it's very difficult. You can't export the way
I'll just cut and paste it into a spreadsheet.
You can, but it's gonna look like it does off of Beckett. So you're not gonna be able to like color code and everything or scratch through. You would have to put it in Excel and then like print it out and literally like mark through it.
Yeah, I could do some tricky shit in Excel. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Take it from experience. If you want to take Beckett's checklists and put them into Excel, it's easier as a player collector than it is just doing like specific sets.
Okay.
Other than literally like typing them.
You know what I could do is go to trading card database too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another option. So
I don't know how well it exports or copies and pastes. Like I've never tried it.
we'll take a shot at it because it gets 21, 22 up. I'm going to do by years and go from there. And then that's really it. I was working on when I get a burn my ass to look at Steelers, like the whole Antoine Randall L, who's my boy, who I love watching play. I just got to burn my ass and I bought that. So I'm going to try.
You keep deviating with your Steelers shit, and it's really agitating the shit out of me.
Yeah, Lois Rung told me to knock it off too, because he was like, "Could you hold off from buying any Steelers for a while?" Just saying. I'm like, okay.
Well, I understand where he's coming from. It's not like you have guys that are tops of your list that you really enjoyed watching play. Lambert, Antoine Randall L. Like, I know fucking Palomalu was not really on your radar, but knowing that Palomalu didn't have a shit ton of autographs, that's why I did what I did in 23.
Which was brilliant because eventually I wanted one of his autographs. It's not like I hated the guy.
That's not what I'm going at. It's like, it's not somebody that you had talked about.
Yeah, I got you.
So, like, we all know Lambert. Like, that's your guy. Like, we know this. But at the same time, you're a Steelers guy. So there's a lot of guys in which you've enjoyed watching over the years. And you're kind of turning into like me when it comes to the Broncos auto collection. Like, I want an autograph in a jersey. And if there's a patch out there, like, I'd love to have one of each for said player. If it's a possibility. Yeah. Like, there's going to be some people that's not going to be a thing. But,
some guys that could care less, but other guys, yeah.
But on the flip side, at a bare minimum, you would love to have an autograph of every Steeler.
Yeah.
So
at least the ones I really liked. There's some Steelers that I could give two shits about. So
but that's pertinent information though that you need to share with people. So, like, for some of us who look for stuff like that, aren't sending you somebody that you're like, oh yeah, this is sweet, but deep down you're like, I hate this fucking guy.
Yeah, you get a Merrill Hodge auto, and you're like, oh. No.
I like Merrill Hodge. It's hard pressed for me to find a Steeler that I didn't like. But there's some, mostly lately with the wide receivers.
I was gonna say Deontay Johnson.
Yeah,
George Pickens. You're gonna get George
Pickens is there now.
These guys, when it went to Young Money and that stuff, that just pissed me off because all of them left, and then all of them realized, damn, except for Connor. He's the only one I really don't fault because they went a different way with the running style, and he's done well in Arizona. So I'm not upset. And
I get it. So, no Santonio Holmes.
I like Santonio Holmes, even though he was the start of Young Money. He's one I actually liked. It was more of the I don't know. I forget which one it was. It was an idiot. There was a lot of idiots, but I was what's his name that went to Chicago? What was his name?
Oh, Claypool.
Claypool,
yeah. I had such high hopes. I watched him, he was moving into his apartment. I was like, yeah, this kid's going to be smart. He's not going to be a douchebag and worry about money. A year later, I'm a prime wide receiver. Oh, shut up. You're in 1 year. Just let your.
He wasn't even good that year.
Yeah.
No.
I'm like, dude, you're good, but you're not. Just play the game and be done. You don't hear that from hockey players. It's just like, shut up.
Yeah, well, hockey players, hockey has a much stricter cap, though, too.
Yeah, which is going up next year. And tomorrow, 24, 25 synergy drops. So the Lemieux in it is gorgeous. There is no Cranked Up this year, Dave. So it looks like Cranked Up has ran its course for the time being.
One and done or two and done.
I think it's Synergistic Duos is back. Lemieux's with Malkin this time instead of Sid. There's Monuments, I think. And there's one, I think there's 16 total cards. I can't see what you got.
You
Where's
got to
that?
drop it lower.
No.
Artifacts.
Yep. That finally came in from the Great White North.
Yeah, it's been slow.
I know I showed you it previously, Vinny.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yep.
I know what it is now.
Is it something you can share in after hours?
I can.
Okay.
Yes. But I've got a lot of stuff on ComC so far. There was a lot of good shit on there that I've gotten for Christmas 2024. Mainly for that person to the, well, if you're looking at your screen, it's to the left of me, but it's actually to, yeah. My other left.
Yeah, that would be you because there's only one person to the left or right of him.
Yeah, so that would be the guy in the Green Bay hat. So you and the Joey's almost done. Our friend Brad, if you watch, you're done. And David, I've gotten some stuff for you. I have not gone after anything for Mr. Bob yet because he owes Dave and I a checklist because I've been writing alternative ideas for Bob because there's only so many Meadows cards in the world. And I think Dave and I fucking, there's my F word for the night. Have
Gone
gone
once.
Gone
once. That's pretty much what you
Yeah.
would need to be looking for these days.
Yeah, it's just like it's we've hit it so hard.
I said that to Dave the other day. I feel like he has like almost every important Meadows card that could possibly be had.
We've tried.
Correct.
Tried. Like
It's one nowadays. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's the super fractors that'll come up. There's one of them that was up and he wanted like $700 for it. I'm like, I love you, Bob, but I don't love you. I don't love you like I love you, or however that song goes.
I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's like I think it was John Cougar Mellencamp. But it's like
Bob Dylan.
Yeah. It's like ridiculous to pay that when you could get so many other badass cards.
Well, those are people who are not in touch with the hobby.
No, there's so many people that are out of touch.
It's probably rookie year or pre-rookie type stuff, and they think that they're sitting on like something that's worth the price of gold. And
for me, I was looking at Sid Novi stuff. I'm like, I want 0607. I don't want 0506. It's player worn. I want 0607, which is the first year that's going to be game used or game worn for Ovi and Sid. That's their real worn stuff. Most of their stuff from 0506, their rookie year, is not going to be game worn. It's going to be player worn. So I was just doing, math like that, trying to figure out stuff.
With as late as the cup comes out, like all that shit should be game used as far as
no shit.
Because they're like a year behind.
Or more.
Bob's going to get some cereal and then calling it a night. His phone died. So just
that would make sense. I'm assuming that went to the group text.
Yeah. And basically so far this year, I've not bought any dupes. And I bought cards off the list of stuff I need.
It's only 14 days into 2025.
You got 50 weeks to go. So
yeah. Hey, it's anything 2 weeks in, that's called a streak, to quote the dude from Major League. Anything over 2, I'm on a streak. So if I can do 3 weeks here with no dupes, I'll be pretty good.
So do we touch on the other topic or do we not? And call it a
We
night
can,
because
a
we're coming
little
up on
bit,
2.5. No, we're coming up on 2.5 hours.
I mean, I guess we can briefly. It doesn't have to be in 5 minutes, but
We all know it's coming up.
Whatever.
You'll make a video.
I have
Shut
nothing
up,
to add
buddy.
to the conversation. I don't watch any of the videos. I'm not a part of that world.
But I will still vote for you because you should be a part of that world.
Yeah,
As will I.
yep.
We all know, like, none of us give a shit. Like, we don't.
Yeah.
We do it now more out of principle just to prove a point.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's, and I know we've talked about it. And I don't even care who people would vote for to get in, but just have the old guard come back to spite the new folks and their like lunacy that they think somebody that's been around for 3.5 years making bubble in screen fucking videos about Wade Boggs or Roberto Clemente or Mickey Mantle or whatever fucking nonsense. Like, these people should be Hall of Fame worthy. Again, it just, my mind struggles so hard for these losers that are just like jerking off over vintage all the time. You look at the back of the card at like the end of a Willie Mays career, end of Mantle, end of Koufax, end of all these guys, and you see 15, 20 years. But then all of a sudden you turn the dial to this particular instance. In 3 years, I mean, people are literally hopping with a pogo stick going up their ass, like trying to get people in. I'm like, oh, do you again, we know our videos are shit. That you're not gonna have stupid, what's the top 5 Tops 87 card sales of the last week? Come and join me. I trust you will. Nobody gives a shit. Seriously. I'd rather cut off my fucking nuts than watch that shit.
Yeah.
Well, if things were different and this was started back in our heyday, 3 of the 4 of us would have already been in.
But that's the thing. It's like we didn't need to have this false validation.
Understood.
And we also didn't have anybody that just came on and just kind of looked around at assess the situation and goes, you know what? I'm going to crown myself king and create a Hall of Fame.
And then try to walk back on that several times over.
Yeah.
Well, true.
But
I believe that gentleman tastes dicks with his butthole.
Oh,
And his mouth.
put it.
Wow.
That was the PG version.
Oh, I would have loved to heard the non-rated version. Because that was fucking greatness.
I look at it this way. You know what? If you want to have a club, have the club. I like it because, like I said, I'll stumble on to something that I haven't watched yet, and it's pretty cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
but those are getting few and far between.
I was about to say.
Because and again, to each their own. The bulk of the community nowadays is vintage baseball. We've said it. We've said it. But that's but at the end of the day, stop it. People need to look outside the norm.
They can't. They can't get over their own way.
And you're right. They can't get out of their own way because it's and I don't want to call it the inner circle because it's not. It's the clique. It's this clique But yet,
No. It's the
It's-
fucking human vintage centipede. That's all it is.
but it's so much bigger than that.
No, it's like one person swallows a mantle. The next
I
one
know,
it out with
but
food.
again, but it's supposed to be bigger than that, is what I'm getting at.
But it's not, because that's the way all these curmudgeon-y douche nozzles. I got the Redman 55 maze today. Oh Lord!
But again, like that's not our freaking genre. That's not our cup of tea.
Again, when you see the card the first time, it's cool. But then every fucking buddy picks it up because the first person picked it up. There is nobody thinking with their own head because shit is just constantly dribbling through their fucking system because nobody has a fucking brain.
That's why I like watching hockey, guys. Like, none of those people would probably know who Ziri 11 is, or Ziri Gaming, or Ziri. He's got almost 50,000 subs. He's a goofball kid that breaks hockey wax. And the guy not only knows the cards, he knows the game. He can tell you this guy played for the Oshawa Generals, and this is the guy played for my minor league hockey club that I follow, and this and that. Now he collects the big boys like McDavid, and he's got future watches, Ovi and Sid.
Of course he does, because he banks money on the fucking breaks.
No,
So-
he doesn't. He doesn't sell stuff, but he's sponsored. Let me put it that way.
Well, and he probably makes a shit ton of money though too in the process.
Well, the views and that. Plus, he has Patreon and stuff.
I'm not talking fucking like he has to have a well-paying job, because even at 50,000 subs with sponsorships and everything else, he ain't banking hardcore. Not in the sports card space. It ain't happening.
No, but he's
It
got.
ain't happening. So he has to be making money elsewhere in order to fund it.
But that doesn't ever fit the narrative either, because you can't mention that because you got to figure, oh, I'm just making all this money off cards instead of. Here's my job. I can be vague about it. I don't have to sit there and say, well, I work for 3M, or I work for Lockheed Martin, or I work for fucking Tyson Foods, or whatever. I don't work. You could just be like, I'm in the food industry. I'm in the security industry. And that's fine. But people can't even fucking do that. I mean, what do you think? Who's showing up on your doorstep? If somebody's doing that, they deserve to be shot. I'm like, fuck. If the worlds could stop for a minute and the picture that was heard around the card mutiny was taken, it does. You know what? It's a hobby, but you know what it is in the end? It's just fucking cards.
Yep.
Collect what you like, and you want to rip on everybody else for collecting new and all this other shit. I don't need to see another George Brett in my fucking life. I like George Brett. I don't need to see another Robin fucking Yount. I don't need to see another godmother fucking damn Mickey fucking Mantle. He was a drunk, you guys. He was a drunk. Do you know that?
Yeah,
But we pedestalized him.
kind
He's
of a
so
piece of
great.
shit.
Yeah, he was a fucking pile of crap.
Piece of shit.
But it was
Great
Mickey
ball
Mantle.
player.
It was Mickey Mantle this week in baseball. Ooh, the home run derby. Ooh.
Great ball player, but as you said, piece of shit.
I don't know if all these dudes when they were kids had like frozen Twinkies and use them as fucking dildos or what, but God, they're just Mickey Mantle.
I figure late 20s, early 30s, Jeff.
I just now saw the question. That's why I was like, where the fuck did that come from?
And I think Paul, because he's never shown his face on video. So I think Paul matched voice with person and was trying to figure out at the expo that was him, but he's yet to make a face reveal on YouTube.
Christ, even Ed did it quicker than him.
Yeah. This guy's I've been watching him for 6 years, I think. 5, 6 years. And I watch him, and he's sponsored by that GP Sports Cards. And those guys go out and find, you want to talk about monster freaking hockey cards.
I watched
The slab
watched
short guys, they're not my cup of tea, but that GP Sports Card guy, he seems to be a decent human. Plus, he collects penguins. And I know if I don't have it and he shows some banger Lemieux, I'm like, holy piss and vinegar. This is some, and he goes out and he buys collections. He has a shop. He does breaks. Yeah, a lot of Panegi.
And if it's business, some of that shit becomes tax deductible write-offs, all sorts of shit. So like,
yeah. And he started, he sold off most of his cup collection to start his business. So he's another Canadian version of trying to be like Ryan and Neil. So I give the dude and whoever he's working with credit. There's a guy that's like the front man to it, sort of like Ryan and Neil. So I mean, he doesn't look like he screws anybody over. He tells it like it is. Like if somebody doesn't pay, he's like, I don't have your payment. There's nothing I can do. You know, it's pretty on the up and up. And like I said, he's picked up some banger collections. If you saw some of their expo videos, is all I got to say.
Well, anybody can do it if they choose to take the risk. None of this is rocket science. It comes with experience.
Correct.
Anybody can do it if you put forth the time and effort.
Yep.
But it takes time.
Yeah.
You know, the shit typically doesn't happen overnight. You're like the boom of fucking COVID is done.
Yeah.
Like now if you choose to go that route, it takes time, it takes effort, and they're not all wins.
No.
But if you put forth the time and effort, anybody can technically do it.
Yeah.
Anybody.
It's a hell of a side gig if you can work it right.
Well,
like
and
that.
It's always a possibility. It's easy to do if you put forth the time and effort.
Yeah. And that's our most valuable commodity is time. What are you willing to sacrifice your time to do? Is it worth that extra money? And then you got to pay taxes on it because you want to do things right.
But even then, like that's the easy part. It's one of those in which if you're a young guy and you don't have kids and that type of shit, you can put more effort on some of that shit.
Correct.
You know, for most other people who have a wife and kids or whatever, a mortgage and everything else, you can still do it. You can still do it, but your time is somewhat limited unless you want to still put in extra amount of time after your main job. You know, it's a give and take. And that's coming from somebody who, like, years ago was a silver power seller. And if that, like, I don't know what they changed, but to be a silver power seller, you had to have $1,000 in gross sales every month, which is not a lot when you put things into perspective. Like, I don't know what the qualifications are. But even then, like, 4 weeks out of the month, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So auctions would be posted on Sunday. They would end, and then you have the aftermath of packaging, shipping, so on and so forth. But even then, even if you're posting 20, 30 auctions a week, that's still a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're okay with spending that amount of time, then yeah, it's doable. But in order to make it significant, you would have to put more time in. Potentially, unless somebody has some other greater, brighter idea. Because, like, I used Turbo Lister back when I did it. So yeah, I was one of those guys in which, like, my auctions would end within a matter of seconds. But that was the easiest way to do it because that stuff was still quote unquote free because you weren't scheduling for stuff to list.
Mm-hmm.
If you started like staggering and ultimately notating them as scheduled, that cost you extra money. And back when I did it, there was no fucking free listings, X number of free listing, X number of auction free listings or fixed price. Like there wasn't any of that shit. Every listing cost you money. Every listing. So it's doable. It's not rocket science. But at the same time, depending on your approach, there is still the time to research. Like if you want to just throw shit up at 99 cents and let it ride, then that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, you have to do the research and look at, average completed listings or sold listings and things along those lines. If you're wanting to at least get close to that, then you want to list it at whatever buy it now best offer in hopes that you can get. Thanks, Charlie. My dog's obviously got gas too. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of my office. Yeah. Something, but with him, at least usually I can hear it. This one I didn't hear. But a lot of people don't take into account the amount of research that some of that shit takes. Like the last time I sold shit, like I even reached out to Michael on a specific card. Like just because it's like, okay, I can't find anything. Like I need some suggestions. What are you thinking? Like, what should I base it off of? And between the two of us, we came up with the consensus. And ultimately, it was the right price point. The card sold. All was well. But that's the part that nobody talks about. It's the research, because if you're wanting to maximize the dollar and get the most amount out of something, you have to spend the time. Because if not, all you're doing is listing shit for a penny or 99 cents and letting it ride, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
if you're going to run penny auctions or 99-cent start auctions, send it to a big consigner.
Yep.
Because that's going to get the eyeballs.
well, and see, and that's ultimately the thing. Like, but back when I did it, there wasn't a whole lot of those. So, like,
Big Boyd, Evolution, Probstein. Those are the three that I remember then.
Yeah,
And
but
that
I
was
don't-
it.
Yeah.
I don't think, was Probstein around in 07?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he had the numbers like now, but I mean that was one that was always not the volume of today's day, but yeah, Evolution Sports Marketing,
I
I bought a
remember
lot of stuff off them.
I
and then
remember them.
Big Boyd Sports Cards.
And I vaguely remember them, but even then, I don't think they were as big as what they were a few years later.
I don't know.
They were still pretty. Again, I remember like the Sunday nights when they'd have stuff. Probstein would have stuff, but then Evolution would have. Evolution used to have
Yeah, they were huge.
a big booth at National. I remember in 08 buying some Josh Johnson there, and I'm like, oh. But I mean, that's where like it was like now, where people are just sitting camped at the table because there's fucking just like boxes down this way. It's like basically just fucking value boxes the whole way around. But I mean, prices on the cards, and then again, X amount is off of it or whatever. But I was just like, you had people everywhere. I'm like, oh, I'd love to do this, but I just no. There's just way too much like.
Well, and
plus
that's
people being there. Like the one we looked at National near the end, I think of Saturday, when we found some of those hockey, some Pacific parallels. It's like, yeah, I want to look, but it's like you're fucking reaching over people's hands,
Yep.
and I'm like, I want to look, but I'm good. I don't need to be near people like this. This is too close for comfort.
But like, and that's the thing. It's, do you want to put forth the time and effort and take 100% of the profits, or is it easier just to send the shit off to a consigner and wait a few months potentially before they get shit listed and get, 85 or 90%, depending on what their breakdown is on their final sell value.
It's worth it to not have to worry about mailing things off.
If you're talking significant number of things,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and if it's a big card worth a lot, that's going to be a large amount of money if and when it sells. I use eBay as advertisement for people to reach out for me so I can sell it off eBay.
Mm-hmm.
Shame, Michael.
I don't give a fuck.
I figured that was coming next.
Yep.
And Paul, his first video was 2014, so that could be right. So that could put
That
him
would
at about 25.
11, but he would have been 11 years old starting out.
2014 he would have been 14. If he's 25 or under, it's 2025, so he could be 25 now. I don't know. I would think he's like 28 or 29. I don't know. Like I said, that's the great mystery in our hockey world.
But on the flip side, like I used to enjoy like listing shit and then watching the auctions, and like because I would track shit. Like as it was getting close to auction end, I would have the number of bids and what it was at, and then I'd do a refresh and see if there was any more bids and what it went up to. Like at that time, I kind of enjoyed that. But again, like unless you're willing to put forth the time and effort and run it as a side business and you enjoy doing it and it's not a job, it's fun and enjoyment, then by all means, like do your thing. But on the flip side, if you're talking 500,000, 5,000 cards type situation, like that would take a lot of time. I also wonder, like, how do the consignment places pay you? Do they pay you friends and family? Did they pay you goods? Did they cut you a check?
Well, write that down in your journal so when Ryan's back on, because he used that sort of like Vermont or New Hampshire, somewhere up that way. I don't think it's quick consign too, but it's
Because like
somebody.
they don't ever notate that. Like they put their percentages and they notate like when they pay you on like after everything ends and so on and so forth. They pay you at this point in time, but there's no details on how they pay you.
Money order.
We always assume it's going to be PayPal, but
Yeah,
I didn't sell the goods, so
Yeah.
like to me, I shouldn't be having to
cashier's check, traveler's check.
something.
Nothing like a good old money order.
I use those quite a bit for my bills. I'm old school. Like I said, I was born in the wrong generation. And I don't use this direct deposit shit and take it out of my account. I've told you the Verizon story more times than I need to fucking tell you that. I do not like companies having access to or the ability to have take money out of my account. I'm like,
That's how I used to save money. I'd save up cash, then I'd make a money order, then I'd buy whatever I wanted. I saved money back then. That was when I was single. Now that I'm married with children, all that went out the window.
I only have 3 things that are ACH'd, and that's only because, well, one is like my car insurance because it's just easier that way. But the other 2, it's to actually save on fees
Yeah.
to have it ACH. So the cell phone bill and the water bill come directly out of my account on specific days.
Yeah, my life insurance comes straight out. I think that's the only automatic withdrawal I have.
That's done through my company, so like that's deducted from my paycheck.
Yeah.
Same here.
So, but anyways, we're coming up on 3 hours, Dave. So I'll ask this one question. Go ahead, Michael.
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Sorry, my bad. I'm going to pose the question. Like, Michael, I know you'll probably abstain. Like, you won't respond because, like, you don't follow a lot of the newer people. But I'm going to pose the question. For the class of 2025, who is a sure win? I'll start. The only one that comes – actually, I have 2. Collector, investor, dealer, and Orlando are sure wins for 2025.
Probably.
Anybody have anybody else?
Orlando would be the one that I tend to. Again, I don't know if I'd vote. I might. Again,
You'll vote.
Well, I know he will, but I mean, like,
no, you'll vote.
One person came off the ballot. Brad.
Yeah, but that was 2 years ago.
Well, whatever. I lose my years, but so
I get
it's
it.
Be probably the same vote because.
Well, and that'll be mine. Like I have my same list, and I'm not going to deviate from said list until somebody else drops off the ballot. Like this sounds stupid, but I'm not going to vote for Orlando. Orlando's a great guy. I like him. But like my vote is not going to help him one way or the other. Like he's going to get enough elsewhere.
He loses by 1 vote.
Doubtful. But like at the same time, I look at those at the lower end or those that just miss. You, Dave, being one, Carlos being another. Right there at the tail end of like the top 5. Is this the year that Carlos gets in? Is this the year that Dave gets in?
No.
Because I don't know. Because collector, investor, dealer was close last year. You and Carlos were also close last year. But out of the bigger guys that have the following, even from the vintage side, like Orlando's the only one that comes to mind that actually fits within the qualifications now. But then again, I don't follow a lot of that, so I couldn't tell you.
Big Scott, has he been around long enough? Because he does a live stream every week. I mean, he'd be one that I would think would have a good shot at it. I think he's been doing it for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, he's got to be past 3 years or whatever it is.
Yeah. So, given the criteria, he's as good as decent human being and pretty cool collection and nice guy. And
because what about Mike Hitman 23? Isn't he close?
He's got to be close too.
Yeah, he's got to be past it. I think he's.
Well, because I was trying to think of like people who have potentially been voted for in the past that didn't make it.
Is Ray in? I collect Ichiro.
No, but I don't think he makes a lot of videos.
Okay.
Well, technically, I don't either, but I get a
You
vote
don't
from
collect
Dave
art
and Vinny.
either, by some other people's standards.
Well, I'm no longer a collector.
Yeah.
Based on certain standards, 100%.
I will gift you a super collection. So now that the lowest rung's open, if what's the qualification? 150 Ed Reeds are in his collection, I guarantee now. So if he wants to join Super Collectors Unite, he is now an Ed Reed Super Collector. So
Well, it's again like my ballot won't change until somebody else gets on there. Like that's how I am. It'll be interesting because again, like the two that I mentioned are the two that I think are at the top of the list, and the reason why I mentioned collector, investor, dealer is because he was fairly close last year for good reason. For good reason, like he seems like a laid back kind of guy. Like, yeah, he's transparent of what he is and who he is. He made the appearance at the pizza party when we were there in Chicago. He seems approachable. So, like, to me, that's the added qualifications that aren't part of this whole deal, anyways, right?
I'd like to see one more thing added. If you're in the Hall of Fame and you don't vote,
You
years straight, you're excommunicado, as they say in John Wick. I think that should be an absolute rule. If you want to be in this shit, then you support this shit.
Yeah.
If you didn't give two shits about getting in, then that's that. But
well, but if that's the case, then it would have to be looked at if you didn't vote the year prior, you lose your seat, which means an additional seat should be given the following year. So if you've made it previously, and let's say 2 people don't vote that are in the Hall of Fame, that means there should be 7 entrants the following year.
that's legit. So if you're
Because then the counts would stay the same.
crack it down, Jake. Crack it down, brother. Do your thing.
Still hate the good guy thing going away, and then the
Longevity.
the Joe Ryan 35 fan, and then
I think I confused too many people, to be honest.
But those are limited to the individuals that are in the Hall of Fame. But it's no longer a part of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah, because it's the good guy award and then like the longevity award. And some of them still put him out there.
that was
Bye,
Michael walking by. Like, screw this shit. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, he's going to bed. But I'm sure we're all in agreement here, although there will still be people who will vote for Dave as an individual, which is still fine. Because let's face it, I want Dave to get in just to spite a certain individual. But, if you want, you can vote for Dave, but you can also vote for the IRP as one of your other votes if you choose to go that route. But we've all said it.
Brad, you asshole.
We have all said it. There are a lot of us who want Dave in, but for whatever reason, if you choose to not go that route, and Dave has said it, I am not saying that something that Dave has not said. He would rather you vote for the IRP than to vote for himself, and I am the same way.
And it's sort of like Goodfellas. If Dave gets in, it's like we're all in.
And the family's in.
Yeah. Because it's like putting a black sheep right in the middle of everything, and we could just sit back and enjoy it.
It's one of my favorite sayings from, again, I forget the movie. the girls camp on one side, the boys camp on the other. Then near the end of the movie, they go one side goes to the other to have a dance, and so there's a punch bowl there. And one of the sayings, like early on in the film, it's like you stick out like a turd in a punch bowl. So it said dance, there's a turd in a fucking punch bowl. So I'm the turd in the punch bowl of the YouTube sports can.
Well, that's an analogy I wasn't planning on tonight, but we'll take it.
Take
One
your
of-
bingo card, shine that some bitch up real nice, turn it sideways and stick it straight up. Your pin.
ass.
It just Again, it's something that it's nice to always get the recognition, but it's not going to be like a validation for a collecting where I'm not spending tens of thousands of dollars to like try to keep up with baseball collector or fucking silver off eye or fucking nose from Missouri or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm fucking collecting what I like, what I've enjoyed, and I will continue to collect what I like and I enjoy.
I love how this has frozen. that picture of Vinny frozen. That's fucking greatness.
After the discussion of the whole why people film gifts and shit, I was 2 steps from just saying, you know what, screw all this bullshit. Oh golly.
No, Vinny is not a goner. He's just frozen. But that was a great fucking freeze there for a minute. My thing is, and this is in all honesty, one of the main reasons why I still vote for Dave, and it's to spite a certain individual. Not to mention Dave deserves it. Like, in all honesty, like I know you hate to hear that, Dave, but you do. Is to hear the fucking acceptance speech. But then a part of me goes, I wonder what the acceptance speech would look like if the IRP were to get it. Because all 3 of us would have to be there. What exactly would that fucking look like?
That would be interesting.
Because, like, we would have to come together and, like, write something non-explicit. No profanity.
Oh, that's easy. That's fucking easy. You let me have it. Gold. It's fucking gold. Like picking a big nose.
We'll let Dave Dave will be the spokesman for the IRP and the acceptance speech.
Yeah.
You know you're in trouble.
The first thing he says, no profanity. That'll be fucking easy. I mean, Jesus Priest.
Don't fucking worry about it, fellas. We got this shit unlocked.
Wrap us up, Dave. Jesus.
Thanks, Michael Robert, coming on.
Good one, Carlos.
Yeah,
It's sort of like Carlos messaged me the other day, and he's like, "You need to get more explicit instructions for Ed." Ed just reached in the box and he started with the last stack first. It's the most. I'm like, I like messaged him in the stream because I was at work and somebody said he was on because I got a notification. And I'm like, Ed, they're numbered. And then he just like, screw you, Vinny, I'm just going. And he just kept on picking out stuff. I think he ended with 2.
Yeah, there's like 1 was near the end. He's like, oh, I finally found 1. And I'm like, yeah. What are we? Do you not? I know you're like a Philly guy, but are Philly people really that stupid? I mean, they don't know numbers? Hey.
He went more rogue than Bob Lewis in 2023.
Hey, well, that's why I was like, did he pull a Michael? Because he started with 11 instead of 1.
Yeah.
But at least he fixed it. He at least fixed it.
And then, Michael, you're off the hook. You are no longer the worst.
Well, you were the laughing stock, and then it's like, hold on. Ed's like, hold your portobellos.
Yeah, hold Mike Duncan because he was drinking a Dunk's iced coffee. God bless you, young Edward.
Oh, we love you, Ed. The majority of the time.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Days. I mean, that's gonna be a fucking month. It's gonna look like Tom Hanks and fucking Castaway.
Right?
But yeah,
Wrap us up,
Michael,
Wilson.
Michael and Robert, thank you. Everybody commented along the way. Thank you. So next week we'll dig a little deeper. Maybe I won't say we'll do a lot of research, but I think we're gonna see who can get in this year. Just take a couple. I know Steve said privately to me in a lengthy conversation that this weekend is going to be a content-filled weekend about the Auburn.
I didn't say anything.
He's going to say that he trusts that this card mutiny will be filled with love and joy and 1986 Wade Boggs cards. So
Car war calculations. Oh, Lord Jesus.
we'll figure out. We'll get a running tally of who these people are, and I'll have some names. I'll say it. I'll have a couple names.
I'll take your word for it. I already gave my 2, and that's as good as it's going to get.
I gotta go see who the hell I voted for last year. I can't even remember.
That's why I have mine on a Word doc.
How does Vinny do
Not
that?
that sophisticated. Huh?
How does Vinny do that? He's talking, but he's not moving. He's like better than a ventriloquism doll.
As soon as I come upstairs, that's when it happens. In the basement, it seems fine, but when I come up here lately, I don't know what the deal is. Maybe Better Half's computer is just sucking all the bandwidth because she's been on it for 30 out of 40 hours. She's slept maybe 5 hours in the last 2 days. She's for work. She's just been on it. So I don't know if she said she went to bed, but I didn't pay attention if she's still in her satellites linking up in space, purple and data. So
I've already got my 2020. I already got my 2025 ballot ready. Copy paste 2025. Like I'm good.
All I've got to do is watch my 2.5 minute video from last year and just same thing.
mine was a sticky note on the wall. Here's my vote, fellas.
I'm gonna try to do the sort of the same thing, but be more creative with it.
Okay.
So it might be a little longer and more tedious, but
Mine will be.
what would you expect
short.
from me?
Mine will be 22 seconds.
Well, the thing about it is since we have to put all the ats in the freaking description, it doesn't have to be super long anymore. Really?
No, but I still like to listen. I don't like. There's some folks that'll just have the piece of paper and just do the. I'm like, come on now, say a little something.
No.
I thought you just had to do one at Jake.
No, that's in the title, I think.
That's in the title, but you have to do all the channels that you voted for in the description.
So
I would not advise that, Ty. Just
you might get flagged. I don't know.
Which means your votes won't be casted.
Yeah.
Because it won't be up for very long. All right, Dave,
So,
finish it up.
Stay tuned to next week. We'll continue. Hopefully, Jake at some point will pop this out. If we're doing it again, I don't know. If we don't, I guess let's run its course. If we do, it will continue to be a hot topic amongst the YouTube community. So, for the thinking man, Vincenzo, Steve, I'm Dave. It's been the RP. Remember, collecting cards, wonderful hobby. The friendships and votes you earn along the way, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.